Hello, Saskatchewan, and welcome to a Shovel Out Wednesday across the province as a big snowstorm. They had a pretty good swath across the province. The snow is tapered out in downtown Regina, where we emanate from on the SportsCage on this Wednesday, February the 18th. But other parts of the province still getting a little bit of a lick of snow. So it's going to be one of those days today. And the unfortunate part is those warm plus temperatures that we had earlier this week are not taking the snow away anywhere, as it's going to get cold for the next little bit. However, we've got a hot show for you on this Wednesday. I'm Dave Thomas, filling in for Barney Shankrick and Tegan Whitco. Colson Schultz is manning the board on the other side of the buttons, and boy, a lot in store. We're going to head to Flin, Flon momentarily and talk with General Manager and Head Coach of the Flin Flon Bombers, Mike Reagan, who achieved a gigantic milestone in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, coaching his 1,000th game behind the Bombers bench. We'll talk about that, an upcoming celebration that is going on in Flin Flon for him this weekend, as well as, well, the heartstopper that was earlier today on the ice for Canadian hockey fans. That's coming up in just a few moments. Oh, look at you, already on with the applause sound effects, Colson. Nicely done.
Gotta stay on my game.
It was well done. Well done. Also coming up, we're going to talk about a very special hockey game coming up Saturday morning out in Balgony in the Stardome. It is a tribute game for Adam Herold. One of the game's organizers and coaches in George Pyne is going to be joining us a little bit later on. We're going to talk some lacrosse on this Wednesday. The Saskatchewan Rush are hot. Yeah, NLL best 9-1 record. We're here from analyst John Fraser. He will join us before we get to 5 o'clock this afternoon. Plus, your senior hockey report is on the way inside the NHL with Eric Francis. Boy, there's a lot to talk about there. And we will go coast to coast with Arash Madani all before the clock strikes 6 here in Saskatchewan. Okay, you'll see me taking a look to my right. Like, I'm going to get whiplash right away here.
You're right. Oh, you're right. My left. Yeah. There's a curling game on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Some of you may be aware of that.
And we're not allowed to provide play-by-play for.
Correct.
We can tell you that it is a very big shot that is upcoming from Rachel Homan that has got her tournament on the line right now as she is in an extra end against Italy. Mm-hmm. Was that enough delay? Because, again, contractually, we have to abide by the broadcast procedures and protocols that are in place, and we cannot do live play-by-play, but we can lag behind.
That's my understanding of it, yeah.
That's what I read.
Yeah.
And then I stopped reading. So
yeah, I did. I skimmed. Skimmed is probably the best word for it.
Well, if you're following the stream on X or YouTube or SportsCage.com and you see me put my hands up, that means that Rachel Homan made her shot. Is that appropriate?
I would say so.
Okay. Because she needs one to be able to continue to advance.
Wait,
we got to wait the 30 seconds.
I am uncomfortable.
You are?
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
I know. We're following the rules, though. That's what it's all about. We are the rule followers. Well, let's tell you what else happened at the Olympics today. First of all, everybody's going to talk about the men's hockey game. Canada wins 4-3. Mitch Marner, if you had him on your bingo card to score an overtime winner for Canada, congratulations, as he comes through in the clutch. And you know what? I won't lie to you. He was carrying the puck, split the defense, flips a backhander into the net. When he got to the defense, I'm like, Mitch, get off the ice so we can put McDavid back on, is what I'm thinking in my head. But he does it. And now Canada is waiting to find out who they will play in the semifinal. It will be either Slovakia or Sweden. Right now, Sweden and the U.S. are on the ice. And again, I've got enough time, enough buffer here. They're still scoreless in the second period of play. If the U.S. gets through, then Canada will take on Slovakia. If Sweden gets through, then Slovakia will play Finland and Canada will play Sweden. Does that make sense?
So no matter what, we're not playing the U.S.
We will not play the U.S. until the gold medal game, if we get there, which was in a little bit of doubt.
I don't know what it is with the Czechs and having our number lately.
Oh, I know.
Props to them. Like, they've been showing up every time they've played us internationally, and I'm here for it. Like, hey, it makes the games way more interesting, right? Like,
can I throw in the but?
Sure.
the but right now is that there is a gigantic missed call that no one caught until after Canada had scored the overtime winner. When Czechia took a 3-2 lead in the hockey game, they had 6 skaters on the ice.
Mm-hmm. We can't show you video.
No.
But I do have a picture of it here.
Yes.
And so if you're watching the stream...
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, you do need 2 hands to get there.
Yeah.
And the goal... if this was in the offensive zone, sure. Whatever. That happens sometimes. They forget. They don't check if the goalie's in or out. Whatever. But this is the defensive zone. You can clearly see the Czech goaltender.
Yeah.
Hooey.
So that could have been a huge one. Because right now the IIHF is thanking their lucky stars, because could you imagine the outrage if that...
The Mitch Marner fan club has never been bigger.
Oh, that's true, right? That's true. I wonder how many are in Toronto. Or is that too soon to say?
Maybe too soon.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay, so that's the men's hockey story for you. Canada is on. We have to wait to find out what happens between the Americans and Sweden before we find out who plays in the semifinal on Friday. Mm-hmm. Let's not forget the women are going for gold tomorrow when they take on the Americans. That game is 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Though I did see Claire Hanna tweeted this out. Apparently, and I don't know who decides this in the Olympics, but the women's gold medal game between Canada and the USA is not considered, quotes, high demand event. Meaning media attending will get spots in the press box on a first come, first serve basis.
Ooh.
The only hockey game considered, quotes, high demand is the men's hockey final.
Wow.
Wow. Excuse me?
That's a wow. I'm just going to say that's a wow.
Yeah. Oi.
So, okay, so that's going on tomorrow. Pebbled ice. Let's tell you what happened now. Men, they played Italy this morning. They won 8-3. They finished their round robin against Norway tomorrow. They can finish as high as second in the round robin. They've already secured a playoff spot. Canada, Italy. Rachel Homan just won in an extra end. She drew the button. Not really. She drew the 4 foot.
Closer than it needed to be.
Yes, she had a 3-point lead going into the 10th end. She gave up 3, and then with last draw cashed in, wins in an extra end. She will play Korea tomorrow to wrap up her round robin. She entered the day tied for 4th or 3rd, however you want to look at it in the standings. The top 4 teams get into the playoffs. She plays Korea, whom she's tied with. So win and you're in to the playoffs for Rachel Homan and Team Canada in women's curling. We did get some medals today. Canada's Stephen Dubois, short track gold in men's 500 meter. The women's 3,000 meter short track speed skating relay team also skated to a bronze today. We now have 14 medals. Not great news for Mark McMorris, unfortunately. Of course, he entered the slopestyle finals this morning in 3rd place. However, he crashed on 2 of his final 3 runs. That ends in 8th spot for him. Again, boy, what a triumphant return just to get back on the slope for the event, I would suggest, after the injury that he sustained in training in Big Skies. So, unfortunately, Mark McMorris of Regina finishes 8th in slope style. So those are some of the things that we're watching today for you. But also, the highlight of the Olympics we have not talked about today.
And I can't pull video footage again because they'll block us.
Yes, I know.
Which is so disappointing.
But in the cross-country skiing venue today, at the finish line, there was a dog that got onto the course and was running with the skiers as they made their way to the finish line.
Now, I'm seeing it's labeled as a wolf dog, which I'm not sure if that's a breed or if that's a wolf and a dog had a kid, but it looks like a wolf.
Yes.
So the first time you see it, you go, uh-oh. Mm-hmm. And then you see its tongue out, running around, happy, enjoying life, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yes.
Ooh, okay.
Well, and fans of the SportsCage, this is where you need to help me. Because right away, as soon as I see the breed of dog, see the pictures that are coming in from Italy, the first thing that I think of is, there's a voice, keeps on calling me. The Littlest Hobo. At which point I said to Colson, so what do you think of The Littlest Hobo?
That was before my time.
And immediately I jumped to the fact that The Littlest Hobo is, if not the best, top 3 best Canadian television programs of all time. I even asked ChatGPT
for help on
this.
Going to the real experts.
Absolutely. Now, ChatGPT said the best Canadian television show of all time is Hockey Night in Canada. So obviously there's a little bit of a sporting algorithm happening with my ChatGPT there.
It depends on what you're classifying as a TV show, yeah. But yeah.
But the other nominees that they said that had the most international acclaim was Schitt's Creek, followed by Corner Gas.
Very nice.
Followed by Degrassi. The entire Degrassi franchise. From Degrassi Street to Degrassi Junior High to Degrassi High to Degrassi The Next Generation.
There we go.
Littlest Hobo suspiciously did not make that ChatGPT list.
There we go. I'm trying to think of a few other ones that are good up there, because I remember seeing reruns for, what is it, Murdoch? That was a Mysteries one, right? Murdoch Mysteries.
Okay.
I seen that one. I don't know how well it was received, of course, but if it's getting reruns, it probably did all right. There's another one that the name is escaping me right now, with a Mountie who is like in the States on like an international.
Due South?
There we go. Due South. Yeah.
I think that was what it was called, right?
Yeah. That was it. Yeah. I've seen clips of that as well. Those are a few of the ones that
There are 2 BC-based television programs that are Canadian that I can't believe haven't made the list.
Okay.
I don't know if you would get one or either of them, but we'll get to that in a bit. That's where the text line, of course, comes in for our friends over at Prairie Land Rentals and Sales since 1986 for big or small jobs. Stop in and deal with the owner. 600 Albert Street. Of course, they've got snowblowers, skid steers, and you need to move it, they'll do it. See them for yourself at Prairie Land Rentals. 306-936-6262. Can you name either of those 2 BC shows? Or what was the best Canadian television program of all time? Your help is greatly appreciated. But Canada's up to 14 medals. The Canadian men's hockey team won in overtime. Rachel Homan steals a win. Well, I don't know if she didn't steal it.
Technically not a steal.
She scored a win.
Drew for a win.
But really should have probably played a little bit.
It was more of a freeze than a draw.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. Anyways, that's the Olympic story. We've got much more to come, including an update from the Cali Curling Club and the Youth Sports Curling Championships that are on there. That's all coming up on the Sports Cage here on this Wednesday afternoon. So if you're shoveling, take a break, grab a coffee, and sit back and relax. Coming up to the next is the head coach and general manager of the Flin Flon Bombers, Mike Reagan, joins us in a moment. This is the Sports Cage. We're streaming on X, YouTube, and sportscage.com. And of course, you can listen to us on the radio wherever you're traveling at 620 CKRM. Welcome back on the Sports Cage. It is the Wednesday edition. Dave Thomas and for Barney Shankrock and Tegan Whitco, and it's time to head out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Of course, they've got the perfect pie each and every time. Check out Western Pizza today. And boy, we're going up north. We're going to Flin-Tivati, Floniton, or at least the home thereof. Flin Flon, Manitoba, of course, is the home of the Flin Flon Bombers, and general manager and head coach Mike Reagan, kind enough to join us on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Coach, is the heart rate slowed down a little from that Canada game earlier today?
Yeah, that was exciting, actually. We just had finished practice and came in, and they were down 3-2, and I was like, oh, my God, 6 minutes left and that. But, yeah, I was really excited. The boys were cheering pretty loud in the dressing room, so a lot of fun.
So, in all honesty, if I had told you this game was going into overtime, would you have taken Mitch Marner to score the game winner?
We were actually just talking about that as it happened, to be honest with you. And it's funny because I said, if I didn't think that I'd need to change practice time for a quarterfinal game, but it almost came to that point, right? So, hey, awesome finish, gets the heart rate going a little bit, and, I think adds to the excitement for the next game.
Jordan Binnington, surprised at all in his performance? He made some stellar saves in the third period.
Yeah, I mean, the guy just seems to elevate his play at the most crucial time. So, it's something about certain guys that are able to do that, the ability to, raise your level of play. And thank God, we need that, definitely.
You've had the opportunity to go with Hockey Canada and get behind the scenes. How much pressure is there? I just couldn't imagine, no matter any time you've got the maple leaf on your chest.
Well, I think it's a huge honor, first and foremost, and you just don't want to let the country down or Hockey Canada down. And, you get to meet a lot of fantastic people being a part of Hockey Canada and that. So I think that there's a lot of pressure. It doesn't matter, at what level you're playing at. I think, once that jersey goes over your head, I mean, obviously as coaches, we don't have that, but, that Canadian tie or whatever behind the bench, I mean, you definitely feel the pressure for sure.
I remember a number of years ago, and this is aging me, but Colton Gillies comes back to the Saskatoon Blades after playing at the World Junior Hockey Championship. And I said, what would you say about the experience? And he said, I wanted to make sure that I took the right thing away. And he talked about the development stuff that he could take away, the things that he learned from coaching. Is that similar for a coach behind the bench trying to take the right things away?
Well, I think every experience is different, to be honest with you. The first time that I got to be a part of it, I was a video coach, and I mean, you don't want to let anybody down, and so I don't know if I fully enjoyed it as much as I probably should. Obviously, after we won gold, it was amazing, but the next experience was a little bit easier. You knew what to expect and that sort of thing. And then the third time, I was a head coach in 2017, and definitely felt a lot of pressure there, but we were able to win gold, and thankfully we had a great group of guys, and I still look at that picture of all the guys, and pretty amazing to think that you get to be a part of that.
Mike Reagan is the head coach and general manager of the Flin Flon Bombers. We're talking Hockey Canada, but now we're going to talk about Mike Reagan of the Flin Flon Bombers, who coached his 1,000th game, 19 seasons with the Flin Flon Bombers. Like, this is incredible stuff. Does it ever get old going back to the rink and maintaining the enthusiasm that you had from day one years ago?
Well, I don't know. I think, like you were talking about pressure, coaching for, Hockey Canada or being a part of Hockey Canada, there's a lot of pressure in this community. It's such a storied franchise, historic, and, a lot of our Quebec players have, kind of said that it's very similar to, the Montreal Canadiens, just on a different scale, obviously. But, our fans are tremendous when you're winning, but they're going to let you know when you're losing or you're not up to snuff. So I think that's what keeps it exciting for me. It's hard to believe that it's been this many years. I'll be honest with you. When I first got the job, I was thinking, can I survive 3 years? And I think I told this story before on maybe SJHL at noon. Dwight McMillan was the coach of the Weyburn Red Wings when I started, and he had kind of joked to me that I was going to be the next Dwight McMillan of Flin Flon, and I not a chance. And I by no means am I saying that I've lived up to what he's done or anything like that, but I never thought that I'd be here as long as I have and reach the milestones that we have here. But it's because of a lot of people in the organization that's given me this opportunity, and a lot of the staff that I've worked with have been tremendous, and it's been a real enjoyable ride.
Do you remember game number one?
I don't remember game number one, but I remember the first 5 games and just kind of how things went. I think we won our first game, and then we lost 3 in a row, and you could feel the heat. And I started to get a little bit nervous. I'm like, geez, are we going down that path? I thought I had changed kind of the culture a little bit at that point, but I tell a story that we lost 3 in a row, and people would avoid me on Main Street. They would literally walk across the street rather than talk to me, and then we actually won 4 in a row, I believe, and the same people that were walking across the street before were coming and saying, I knew you could do it, and that sort of thing, and I believed in you right from the get-go. And it's kind of funny, I'm thinking 2 weeks ago you walked across the street to avoid me, but I love being in a passionate community that obviously loves their Bombers.
Well, the barn packs, when the Whitney Forum is rocking, I don't think there's much better place on the planet to watch a hockey game going. What are you most proud of with what you've been able to do in Flin Flon thus far? Because not only are you raising a junior hockey team and a program and running it at a high efficiency level by virtue of course, you leading the league yet again in points and have already clinched a playoff spot, but you're also developing people who've gone on to some great things.
Well, I think that's a big part of it. Obviously, you want to win hockey games and that, but when I first kind of took over the organization, it was about moving players on and changing the culture and giving ourselves a chance to win year in year out. And we've had over 40 guys get Division I scholarships, and a lot of those players I'm still close with now, and really proud that they're kind of they're a big part of turning the organization around as well. If you have players that have success and they move on to the next level, obviously it's a lot easier to recruit, and we were able to do that early on. And I think about guys like Michael Young, was one of our first guys to get a Division I scholarship, ended up being the captain of Nebraska Omaha, and that's a pretty good Division I school, and so he was kind of waving the Bomber flag for us, and obviously that was a big part of us being able to get other guys that kind of took the road a little bit further into the bush, so to speak, and continued to pave the way for other guys. So I think, back to your question about what am I most proud of is obviously the ability to move guys on and help them with their careers, but also, to be consistent and be in the playoffs year in, year out and be a threat.
Mike Reagan, the head coach and general manager of the Flin Flon Bombers. I know you kind of maybe said it in jest, but maybe it's true as well. The people avoiding you on Main Street when things aren't going well, and then your best friend otherwise. But the level of respect that the community of Flin Flon has for Mike Reagan, is that something that Mike Reagan realizes? Because I know there has to be a lot of trust when you're operating a hockey organization, when you're representing a community, and it has to go both ways. But do you understand that level of admiration that the community has for you?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm just just like everybody else in Flin Flon. That's the way I feel anyways. I'm, grew up here, just another Flin Floner, and I got it hasn't changed me at all in my opinion, and trust me, there's people here that don't appreciate the things that I've done, or maybe like the way I've done things as well. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows or anything like that. I mean, there's some people that there's negativity that you hear, and that comes with the territory. So it's kind of one of those things. If you're not willing to accept that, then it's probably the wrong business that you're in.
Well, little birdie told me that the community of Flin Flon is going to be celebrating you this weekend for having coached that 1,000th game behind the Flin Flon Bombers bench. Even though that game was a while back, did you do anything in that game or on that game to commemorate the 1,000th game, or were you even aware of it?
I wasn't aware of it, to be honest with you. It's actually my first assistant coach that kind of notified me or kind of got the ball rolling on it. He had texted me. Clayton Quinn was my first assistant coach, and we were teammates when we played for the Flin Flon Bombers. So it was kind of fitting that he was my first ever assistant coach. And he had messaged me, and he's like, Regs, how many games have you coached in? And do you know what your record is? And I kind of thought it was strange at first. I'm like, why is Quinny, messaging me right now? And I kind of thought I knew I was above 900, but I didn't know that I was, approaching 1,000. I thought that was maybe next year or the year after or whatever. But obviously it means a lot to come from him, that he's the guy that kind of, recognized it first. And it means a lot to me, because like I said, he was my first ever assistant coach, and I wouldn't be sitting here today without Clayton Quinn for sure.
How has the game changed from that first game with him to where you're at now?
Immensely. I mean, the game, the players, the expectations, how you go about everything. I mean, we were faxing game sheets in after games back then. There was, the video is completely different. How you prepare your players is completely different. The communication with the players, just everything. I could talk for hours about how different it is, but in saying that, I'm kind of one of those guys that, like, if you don't change with the times, you get left behind. So it challenges you every day, and each and every year you're challenged in by the players, and you just got to figure it out.
It's funny you mentioned the faxed in game sheets. I remember a certain number 11 of the Weyburn Red Wings standing outside the office before that game sheet got faxed in, and if there was a blank, all of a sudden number 11 would appear on the score sheet. I don't know how that happened. I'm leaving names out, though. Your team's in a great spot. You've clinched a playoff spot. Things seem to be rolling well. 8 wins in your last 10 games. You're happy with where your team's at, I'd assume?
I think we've came a long ways. I'll be honest with you. I didn't think we'd be in the position that we are this year. Going into the season, our leading goal scorer, coming back had 9 goals. Joey Lees, who's our leading point getter right now and goal scorer, only had 5 goals last year. We lost a lot of very good players last year. We had a very young team last year. And going into this year, we knew that we didn't have superstars, so to speak, that we were going to have to do it by committee. And, we got off to a really good start. We were 6-0, and then we lost 6 straight road games. And, all of a sudden you're 6-6. And since then, we're, I think, 28-4-1-1, I think, since then. And, there's been a lot of growing pains early on, but, we're an extremely young team still. And so we really didn't think that we'd be in this position right now. We're kind of looking at next year, which is our 100th anniversary year. We really thought that going into next season was kind of the year that we would be a force and that sort of thing. But, when you have, I think we currently have 18 players, 19 and under. So we're doing it with a young team, and it's a credit to them. The buy-in's been unbelievable. We knew we had some good players, but I didn't think that we would be where we are right now.
So obviously that's a pleasant surprise. Is it harder to stay the course? I know we're past and beyond January the 10th, but obviously believing your group goes a long way towards team chemistry and character.
For sure. I think when we approached the January 10th deadline, we kind of thought, geez, we got something here, so let's not push every chip into the pot, but we pushed a lot in, and we were able to acquire obviously 3 really good players from the Humboldt Broncos that we felt. Again, I go back to, we were the 3rd youngest team before the trade deadline in the league, and we felt like we needed to get a little bit older, so we moved out 2 18-year-olds and brought in a 19 and a 20-year-old to give us more experience, and then we flopped our goaltenders, a 20-year-old for a 20-year-old. So we got a little bit older at the deadline, but we were kind of sitting there going, geez, maybe we're closer than we think we are. So let's give ourselves every chance here to win. And a guy that I really respect told me years ago that you don't get to pick when you're going to win. And I know we haven't won anything right now, but, we felt like we've got to give ourselves the best chance. And, this community's been starving for a championship. It's been since 92, 93. And, I was only in grade 7, I think, when the Bombers won the last time. And I was at that game, and it was a big deal in my life, and probably a big reason why I became such a passionate guy about the Flin Flon Bombers, and kind of led me to where I am today.
Obviously, having 1,000 games in, you've got the experience to answer the question. As fans, when we are looking at trades and trade deadlines and all that stuff, we see a bunch of names on a piece of paper that might be moving around. You're obviously dealing with people. How do you, and have you ensured that you find the right fit? Because the wrong player coming into the dressing room at a tough time can really go ahead and change your culture in a hurry.
Oh, for sure. I think that's the most difficult part of the job. Like you said, you're dealing with people, and the older that I've got, maybe the more emotionally attached I've got to the players, and you look at them completely different. When I was young, 27, 28 years old, I was maybe a little more ruthless, where it was like I just looked at them as hockey players, and our job was to build the best team that we could here. So maybe the personal side of things was completely different back then. Now, like I tell our board and our billets all the time, I know it's hard on billets when they lose their billet or their player. It's harder on us. Like when we've got to bring in a kid that's been very loyal to us and passionate about the organization, and we have to make a trade. You feel for that kid, and it's probably the hardest part of my job. But bringing in guys is exciting as well. And I think for us is you got to do your homework on the character of the kids, and a lot of times we'll touch base with, a former coach or someone that knew them. And a lot of times we're making sure that we're doing our homework on the kids' character, number one, and then obviously the ability of the players, important as well. But I think the character is the most important thing.
You mentioned the 40 NCAA Division I scholarships, which is fantastic because it's awesome to see kids achieve their goals, which is one of the goals that they have. Has that marker been moved with the changes between NCAA and junior hockey in Canada as far as you've seen thus far?
100%. I mean, the landscape of hockey's changed so much over the last 2-3 years, and I think it's going to change even more over the next 2 years. I feel bad for the players, over the last couple of years, because a lot of the guys that we got 3 years ago were looking to get Division I scholarships, and then with the change of major junior guys being eligible and the transfer portal and everything like that, I mean, it's completely thrown those kids' plans in a vicious cycle, and now they're trying to figure out where do I fit in, and I feel bad for them because we all don't know just quite yet how this is all going to shake out and that, but I think that a lot of our players, they're going to end up in good spots, and I think we've got a good reputation where there's a lot of schools out there that want to get, players that have played for us and probably look at our program as doing a good job of developing not only good hockey players, but good people. And, at the end of the day, we're trying to find our guys, the best fit possible so that they can further on their career and their life. There's life after hockey, and we want to make sure that we're helping them out in that aspect as well.
Coach, before I let you go, of course, you're on the stretch run. You've clinched a playoff spot, as I mentioned. You've been in this position before. How do you make sure that your team, A, stays sharp, and B, peaks in time for the playoffs?
Something that we've talked about a lot, and gone back on past experiences on maybe some things that we've done well, and then some things that obviously we'd like to improve on, and we're trying to get over that hump. We've been to the league finals, I think 3 out of the last 4 years or 5 years, and we're starving for a championship here, and we've talked to a lot of different people that have had experience winning championships, and maybe how can we do things a little bit different and that. So for us right now, it's about getting healthy, staying healthy, giving ourselves the best chance to win in the playoffs. We know we're going to be there. Rest is just as important as, finishing off the season strong here. We got 10 games left, and hopefully we're peaking at the right time, as you mentioned.
Coach, again, cannot appreciate and thank you enough for doing this. Congratulations on 1,000 games that you've already surpassed. Here's to another 1,000 more or so, at least. I know, I'm throwing it out there right now. No pressure.
Yeah.
Coach, appreciate you doing this, though. And again, for what you've done for youth up in the Flin Flon area and that have gone through your program, it's sensational. You've even gone as far as helping broadcasters find pizza at a Flin Flon pool hall late on the night when we're trying to broadcast a final. So thanks for all that you've done.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. And I just want to thank everybody that's helped me, get to this point in my career.
Mike Reagan, the head coach and general manager of the Flin Flon Bombers, joining us on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. We need to take a break and come back with more of the Sports Cage in a moment. We're streaming at sportscage.com and, of course, over the air at 620 CKRM. Time to head out on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline as we are pleased to be joined by one of the organizers of a special event coming up this weekend out in Balgony. George Pyne joins us. And, George, this is such a special event. Can you tell me what's happening on Saturday?
Yeah, the Melville Millionaires are coming to play against the U13 Prairie Storm team. And the game is, every year we have an Adam Herold tribute game. And this was announced to be the game this year against Melville, which is great.
Yeah, and it's coming up on Saturday morning, as you mentioned, out at the Stardome. And why is this such of importance to the team? Because if I walk into any Prairie Storm arena, whether that be Balgony or if I'm in White City, you can just understand the importance of Adam Herold and honoring his legacy all the time. Why is it important to do this with a bunch of under 13 players?
Well, I think with the under 13 team, what originally happened, how this game got started was we were playing in the provincial finals against the Northeast team, Wolfpack. And we were supposed to play Game 3, and the day after the tragic bus crash. So obviously, either team did not want to put any more stress on the communities. They had their hands full dealing with the tragedy, and it was decided between Sask Hockey and the two U13 teams left in the finals to just call it a day. And both teams were named co-winners, first time ever in the history of Sask Hockey, I guess. And that's how the game began. How this began. The following year, it wasn't long after the awards were given out that the group of kids that were involved that year and basically led. Evan Pinnell was one of the players at the time, had an idea, and the rest of the boys jumped on board where they wanted to have a tribute game starting then. And to Adam Herold, he played his bantam, 2 years bantam here, and was a big part of the team at the time. Was a great leader. He's had a great work ethic and everything. So the kids just thought, they have this legacy going. They started it right away, and they wanted to contribute to it. So they went out and found sponsors. They got special jerseys made. All the team, everybody involved in the organization, in the Humboldt organization, their names were melted into the sweaters somewhere. And they had the first game was against Northeast, came down and played against us the year after in a big tribute game with all the donations going to the Adam Herold Legacy Fund.
What's phenomenal is that this year's event, as we mentioned, George, is coming up on Saturday, and that tradition of creating the jersey with the names in it, I was privy, and I don't know if I should tell you this or not because somebody could get in trouble, but I was privy to seeing a bit of a preview of what the jerseys are going to look like, and the first words that came to my mouth were breathtaking in the tribute and the way that the jerseys look, and that tradition continues. And is it part of the fundraising effort as well as part of this game?
Yeah, it is. Like the jerseys, we actually wear them every year. Like they were special made. The kids went out and got some sponsorship through a couple of sports stores in town at the time, and the kids designed them and did all the work for them. We kind of, as parents and coaches now, we just kind of stayed out and let them run with it, and that's what ended up coming. And it's been great since. There's been teams, WHL teams, donate jerseys and sticks and stuff from players that have played in the system over the years, and they auction those off. And then there's lots of business owners that donate items and donate cash to 50-50s and stuff. So it's become quite a day, quite a game. And the Heralds actually show up, that Adam's family show up, and they have a booth there, and obviously with information about Adam and that. But again, the funds that they have through the legacy go to helping minor hockey. They have camps, development camps. There's guys that go out to different communities and put on camps for the local kids and on and off ice stuff. So it goes to a really good cause.
Absolutely. 11:15 Saturday morning, Balgonie Stardome, Melville taking on Prairie Storm under 13. And George, you got to brag about your under 13 team having a heck of a season so far.
Yeah, the kids are doing very well. Probably didn't see this coming at the start of the season, but they've done really well up to this point, and hopefully they can stay on track and finish up their season in a positive fashion.
Undefeated, is that true?
Yeah, in league play, that's correct. We've fallen a couple times in a couple of tournaments throughout the year, but they've also won a couple of tournaments, so hats off to them. They just keep plugging away. So great bunch of kids, incredible bunch of kids.
Well, hats off to you, the volunteers, the coaches, the parents, all making this happen. It's such a great thing to continue the legacy of Adam Herold. We appreciate you taking some time for us here on the Sports Cage, George. All the best. Again, 11:15 Saturday, Balgonie Stardome. It's the U13 Prairie Storm taking on Melville. Thanks for doing this, George, and again, all the best this weekend.
Hey, thank you very much, Dave. Have a great day. Hope to see lots of people out on the weekend.
George Pyne from the U13 Prairie Storm team that will be hosting the annual Adam Herold tribute game on Saturday. Again, puck hits the ice 11:15 against Melville at the Balgonie Stardome. We'll take a break and come back with more of the Sports Cage in a moment. You're watching the stream at sportscage.com and, of course, listening anywhere in Western Canada at 620 CKRM. We are back on the Sports Cage, the Wednesday edition, brought to you by RMP Regina Motor Products. The RMP Winter Tires at Cost event is on now until March 31st. When you purchase a set of 4 tires, visit RMP online or in person today. Okay. We were talking about Canadian television shows thanks to the Littlest Hobo making an appearance at the Milano Cortina Olympic Games today in the cross-country skiing event. And the shows that Colson has not seen now include Littlest Hobo, but also the most popular choice so far on the Prairie Land Rentals text line at 306-936-6262, and that would be the Beachcombers, Colson. Do you have any knowledge of the Beachcombers?
I have not even heard the name before. If that
really?
Helps. Yeah.
Wow. Molly's Reach. And I'm trying to. The boat was the Persephone. There was Nick, Jesse, and then the guy that was the villain that scared the
bejeebies.
Yeah, out of me. That was Relic.
None of this is ringing any bells.
There was the RCMP officer Davis.
Now I'm just thinking due south again.
See, I can't remember what the lady's name was. There was a lady on this show. Anyways, yeah, that was one of many highlights today. The Littlest Hobo making an appearance at the Olympic Games today.
Different dog breed, but that's besides the point.
Well, it's close, and it's a dog running wild.
All right, I'll give you that one.
See, I tried to bring this hint of Canadiana into my children's lives. And not only was I mocked, but also the logistic, why wouldn't someone from Animal Control have picked up the dog? Like, what's worth you kids in imagination these days?
Yeah, well, if the dog's hitching a ride on freight trains around Canada, I don't think they're Animal Control's priority.
It's not that kind of hobo. He would never caught a...
It's in the music video.
Yeah, well, that's just one small chunk, one small episode.
Okay.
Come on, Colson. Come on. Let's get into your sports ticker.
It's time for the Sports Ticker, brought to you by Reliance Heath Water Heater Rentals. Switch to Reliance today and get $200 cash back with your new water heater. Some conditions apply. Call on Reliance.
Alrighty, lots to get to on this Wednesday afternoon. First, we start overseas at the Winter Olympic Games. 2-medal day for Canada. We win gold in the short track speed skating. That was Stephen Dubois winning in the 500-meter men's sprint. And then the women's 3,000-meter short track speed skating relay team skated to a bronze. We've got 14 medals, 4 gold, 4 silver, 6 bronze. Unfortunately, Regina snowboarder Mark McMorris did not head to the podium today. He entered the slopestyle final in 3rd. However, he had 3 final runs. 2 of 3 he crashed and finishes in 8th place overall. For a long, long time, you know Sesame Street at the very least, don't you, Colson?
I've got that one.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's us counting the number of players that Czechia put on the ice when they took the go-ahead lead 3-2 in the 3rd period. Canada, though, stormed back to tie the game. Mitch Marner scores in overtime. Canada's men's hockey team is off to the semifinal after the quarterfinal win over Czechia. But again, everybody talking on social media now about how many Czechia players were on the ice when they scored that 3-2 go-ahead goal late in the 3rd period of play. Also, the other note from that game, Sidney Crosby left injured, lower body injury. He did not return. And John Cooper, for one, the head coach of Team Canada, is not happy at all with the way that he felt that Czechia was targeting not only Sidney Crosby, but who else? But Connor McDavid. So we'll have to wait and see how that all plays out in the end. Again, Czechia is out of the tournament, so there's no more extra that you can add on that would be of any consequence in this Olympic Games anyways. As far as curling goes, men's curling, of course, Brad Jacobs, they win today over Italy 8-3. They'll take on Norway to wrap up their round robin tomorrow. They've already clinched a playoff spot. They could finish as high as second. Rachel Homan, by the skin of her teeth, won over Italy in an extra end this afternoon. She will take on Korea tomorrow. Those two teams are tied in the standing, the winner of which will advance to the playoffs in women's curling. So that's what's happening overseas. Back closer to home, speaking of curling, the U Sports CCAA Canadian Curling Championships are on at the Cali Curling Club here in the Queen City. Chloe Johnston defeated Queens 8-4 to even her record at 1-1 with a victory this afternoon. Not great news for Carter Williamson. He gave up a pair in the eighth end and fell 6-5 to Dalhousie. He is 0-2. Both teams back on the ice this evening. Williamson taking on Laurier while Johnston plays the Calgary Dinos. There's also AAA under 18 boys hockey action tonight. Warman and Battleford's Moose Jaw takes on the Saskatoon Blazers, while Tisdale home to the Prince Albert Mintos.
Worth mentioning, just because I got a text about this in one of my family group chats. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to out the family member. It's a fairly legitimate question. So, my father asked if Crosby's injured,
Yes.
would they bring Bedard over? The answer is no, because the roster is set, right? So there's some players who are essentially healthy scratches on the game days, right?
Yes.
And one of those players will be filling Crosby's spot, assuming he doesn't play.
Well, and that's going to be interesting because the options you've got are Josh Morrissey, who sat out after being banged up in the first game of the tournament, if memory serves correct, and then Sam Bennett, who also sat out tonight. Now, both are supposedly dinged up a little bit, too.
It's a question of who's dinged up the most then, kind of thing.
Yeah, and Crosby's a center. Now, I know there's a lot of people, there's all kinds of centermen on Team Canada, but when you're playing Celebrini, were you really only getting, am I wrong to say that you're only getting offense from Connor McDavid, Macklin Celebrini, and whoever is playing on their wing right now? Because I get it, Marner scored today. So too, and maybe this is the breakthrough that they needed when Suzuki scored as well.
Yeah.
And again, that was an amazing deflection that he scored. So again, it was funny if you listen to Chris Cuthbert, who was calling an amazing game. He says, everybody's going off except for Nick Suzuki. Suzuki is going to stay on and try to extend his shift, almost under his breath saying, get off the ice, Nick. You're tired, so we can put McDavid back on. And he wins a board battle, gets the puck back to the point, and then the shot that was going 3 feet wide, he deflects to tie the game at 3. But again, most of the chatter on social media is about the number of skaters that Czechia had on the ice and the targeting or non-targeting of Connor McDavid or Sidney Crosby. Of course, we're going to go inside the NHL with Eric Francis and get Arash Madani coast to coast for you coming up a little bit later on for their take and their insights as to what they feel should or should not have happened. I think the most concerning one, if I was, would be the 6 players on the ice for Czechia. And again, it was pretty blatant. It wasn't a line change in front of the bench. It's at both ends of the ice. The one still shot is in the defensive zone where there were clearly 6 players on the ice, including or on top of the goaltender.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm just pulling that up. But yeah, I'm trying to pull up statistics on how the players are doing at the Olympics, but the Olympics official website does not have statistics of the individual performances.
Are you surprised?
Not really.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, all they care about is the medal and what time you got in that race or whatever, I guess.
Yeah.
But
and the thing, too, now is that on social media, it's starting to show up that the Czechs and Czechia are upset with the officiating as well. They feel there were some blatant missed calls that robbed them of scoring opportunities.
Is that
again,
so?
there's always two sides, right? Absolutely. And
because there was a blatant missed call that gave you a scoring opportunity. I'm just saying, you can't have it both ways.
In the end, it might have evened out. Let's just say that, right? It might have evened out. But again, if you had Mitch Marner, and again, we're going to get to our sprinkle of the day, right? And obviously, you couldn't get to a future on an overtime winner in a quarterfinal because that's logistically impossible. But if you would have picked Mitch Marner as the goal scorer, you know what? There's probably something to be said for that. But I never would have ever gone that way.
Oh, yeah.
Ever.
It probably... He wouldn't have been at the bottom where you're like, these odds are realistic. Like, they're way... You're you're talking in the hundreds or whatever.
Yeah.
He would have been like 6th or 7th probably, right? Somewhere
True.
in there. So
But
it would have been, yeah, that's respectable, but you wouldn't have picked him.
No. Got a big goal at Four Nations, which might be the background that you need on that, but still. So, and if you're wondering what happens with men's hockey, so Slovakia beat Germany 6-2. Finland defeated Switzerland in overtime, and right now the U.S. is leading Sweden 1-0. They're just about to get going in the third period of play. So if that result holds true, Canada will take on Slovakia in the semifinal, while the U.S. will play Finland. If Sweden gets the upset, then that muddies everything, but basically Sweden would play Canada then.
Yeah.
Just saying. We will discuss that more. We've got to take a break for news. We will get to that with Tanner in just a few moments' time. In the meantime, get set, John Fraser. We're talking Saskatchewan Rush lacrosse. That's coming up after 4 o'clock. Plus, your senior hockey report. It's all on the Wednesday edition of the Sports Cage. We're streaming on X, YouTube, and at sportscage.com. And on your radio at 620 CKRM. It's a shovel-out kind of Wednesday across the province of Saskatchewan. The snow dissipating right along the little cell that made its way from Lloydminster down into southeastern Saskatchewan. Good luck shoveling. Take breaks often. Those are the two key words, and there is some ice under the snow here in Regina after the freezing rain started the whole thing off yesterday afternoon, right at about this time. 24 hours removed, we're still digging out. Lots to get to today. It is the Sports Cage on a Wednesday. Dave Thomas filling in for Tegan Whitco and Barney Shankaruk. Colson Schultz pushing the buttons on the other side of the board. We've been looking at Winter Olympics, hockey, curling, a couple of more medals for us today. We'll dive into that in a little bit. We'll also take a look at senior hockey coming up with your senior hockey report momentarily. It's all for RMP on a Wednesday. But first, let's get back to work, shall we? We've been talking all things like, you name it, Colson, like best Canadian television shows of all time that you've never heard of, right?
It seems to be the category.
Here's one from the Prairie Land Rentals text line at 306-936-6262. Of course, if you need help digging out, they've got it. They've been around since 1986 for big or small jobs. Stop in and deal with the owner at 600 Albert Street. Fraggle Rock, was that Canadian?
I don't recognize it at all. So.
Again, another show that you don't know. Millennials.
I don't know if I qualify as one of those either.
No, but I'm just saying that if you don't know Fraggle Rock, like, we got a problem.
Fraggle Rock. Let's see.
What does Mr. Google say? It didn't land on the ChatGPT top 5, I'll have you know.
Uh-huh.
So if ChatGPT says no, then it's definitely a no.
An international co-production of Canada, the UK, and the United States.
There you go. So it's partly Canadian.
Partly.
I won't even get into a tariff joke. I'm leaving that there. This all started with the Littlest Hobo showing up at the Olympics today and the cross-country ski course. I mentioned that because we've got a guest standing by on the Western Pizza hotline. Of course, Western Pizza. Boy, why cook tonight? They'll take care of it for you, whether it's one of your Greek favorites or, of course, the perfect pie every time with that perfect amount of Regina toppings. You'll find out for yourself at Western Pizza. See them online or in person at many locations across Regina. Having said that, on the Western Pizza guest hotline, the lead analyst for the Saskatchewan Rush of the National Lacrosse League, the one, the only, John Fraser joins us. John, please tell me you knew Fraggle Rock and the Littlest Hobo and understand all of this jargon.
I certainly do. And I wanted one more to throw out there that my sister, who's younger than me, enjoyed, was YTV's Uh-Oh. There is another one you could put up there. It had kids getting slimed. How could you go wrong, Dave?
Wow. Remember that show? Oh, you won't remember, Colson. Remember You Can't Do That on Television? It was
I do, yeah.
That was Canadian, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, just bad enough to be classified Canadian. But, hey, let's talk sports. Has your heart rate settled down? I can see the Canadian jersey in your background there. Boy, was that a finish.
Oh, man. It's actually funny. I was up at the team store for the Rush. My kids were getting a little antsy as I was watching down in my basement. And at the team store, they've got like shooting lanes. They can go play hockey, play some lacrosse. I'm like, that's it. Everybody, we're getting in the van. We're going down to the Fez. I watched the game with the staff, and my kids went and blew off some steam. And this is funny. Like, my heart monitor on my watch is going nuts because between the overtime victory over Vancouver and now the overtime win for Canada, my cardiovascular health is looking pretty good these days, Dave.
Absolutely. So did you have Mitch Marner on your bingo card for scoring the overtime winner?
No, but I did definitely Fraser curse him because I was not talking very kindly about Mitch Marner the entire game, especially in that third period. I went, I think moments before he scored, I even said, why is Mitch Marner of all people out there? And, I was proven wrong, as I so often am.
Well, and the last thing is, did you count the number of Czechs that were on the ice when they scored? I didn't. I missed it totally.
No, I completely missed it. And then I've seen anywhere from 6 to 8 to 12 to 15 to the entire team. Definitely 6 when the goal was scored for them. Like, how are you as a linesman missing that? Because that's your job. Like, I did a little hockey officiating back in the day. That's your job, is to count the guys on the ice when they score that goal. And the fact that they've got video review and all this stuff and they still missed it. And then for the coach to come out, Dave, and say, oh, it's like we were playing against 6 men. Come on, buddy.
That's classic. Oh. Hey, you also curled too. How many times did you touch the rock before you released it before the hog line?
On Monday night, at least twice. It was funny. That's actually been a joke around our Monday night men's league here at the Nutana in Saskatoon. I never thought once about what my hand did after I released a rock until Monday night. And that was a running joke amongst everybody on the ice there. I know me and Saskatchewan curling legend Bruce Cordy were joking about it before the game. I think everybody for the first time in their lives would let a rock go and actually look at their hand going, I guess I do touch the rock sometimes.
That's insane.
It's completely legal. Remember, completely legal before the hog line, as long as you don't touch the granite. But the problem is what does World Curling describe as the granite? Is it the colored part? Is it the rocky part? There is no clear clarification, so I'm glad that they put it back in the players' hands. And even though there was more drama today, I don't know if you saw Brad Jacobs and Joel Rentorez get into it.
Yeah.
You're 150 feet away, Dave.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah,
I've been enjoying every second of it.
If you missed Kirk Myers yesterday, find the podcast. He was well worth the price of admission, standing outside the curling venue in Italy. And he said, you know what? Any publicity is good publicity. So he's all about this.
That's 100%. And Kirk's always great interview. I'm gonna have to fire that up. I was busy at the 9 to 5 yesterday.
Let's talk a little bit about 9-1, shall we? When it comes to the Saskatchewan Rush, of course, the National Lacrosse League and the Rush are on top right now. What has gone right so far this season?
Everything. All jokes aside, we knew this team was going to be really good coming into the season, right? This is a team that went to the finals last year and brought back just about everybody. All the core pieces were back. A lot of the young guys got a year older, and nothing has gone off the rails so far. They've had some injury issues, right, which they've overcome because they are a very deep team. I mean, losing Holden Garland's going to be big, but you look at it, Dave, they're top 2 in goals for per game, top 4 in goals against per game, and Frank Chiliano is among the top in every goaltending stat. Like, it's hard to sit there and go, what hasn't gone right for this team this year?
So when you look at this team as a whole, are they being fueled by the loss in Game 3 of the finals last year? Is that what the underlying motivation is, or has that team parked that?
They parked it at the beginning of the regular season, the beginning of training camp. They basically said, we got to the hill and let's leave this behind us. Let's grow, another year together. Everybody's back. Let's learn from that experience. Let's not dwell on it. And they're not using it as a chip on their shoulder. They know they're one of the best teams in the league. They're one of the oldest teams in the league, and they've got a great mix. They're led by the best coaching staff in the league that's keeping them level-headed and calm. And it's just, that's what they're doing. They know they're good, and they know what the expectation is. The expectation this season is championship or bust, but don't think you're going to be back there this year just because you were there last year.
How did the team get old this quickly when you mention that? Because it seems like just yesterday they were trading away Mark Matthews to go ahead and inject youth into their lineup.
Well, certainly. And I will go ahead and say that is the best trade in NLL history. The fact that they got a pick, they got Adam J., who's a core part of this defense now. They got Zach Mans back in the Mark Matthews trade. It might be one of the most one-sided trades in any level of pro sports, right? But the thing that the Rush do really well is identify their core and keep them together. And you have to think, Old in lacrosse is a relative term, right? You're not seeing guys playing to their 40s. You're not seeing, a lot of 38, 39-year-olds out there. Old in lacrosse, per se, is much younger than you and I, Dave, but old is typically 32, 33 these days, right? Now, if you want to feel old, there you go. So, and again, the team they've got guys like Robert Church, who's going to bring that average up, who's been there around the league forever. Frank Chiliano, much that guy. But you've also got this young core of guys that are just creeping up in age, but have been there for a while. I look, Jake Boudreau, might be one of the best transition men in the entire league. You've got Ryan Barnable, another good young piece on defense, guys like Josh Zawada, Brock Haley up front. So you've got those young guys that fit in with the veterans, but yeah, old in the NLL to me is a relative term, because if you watch the way the Rush play, they're more athletic than just about any other team in the league.
John Fraser is an analyst with the Saskatchewan Rush. Of course, you can catch the Rush up at SaskTel Center in Saskatoon. Of course, they're also on streaming services, TSN, so on and so forth. But let's turn back to last weekend. And was that a statement weekend for the Rush? They take on the Vancouver Warriors, who come into SaskTel Center, only 2 losses to their name, and really with some big aspirations this year. Was that a big statement for the Rush, or am I maybe making a mountain out of a molehill?
You are bang on correct. That was a huge statement for the Rush, because out of any team in the NLL that is built to stop the Rush, it is Vancouver. They are big on defense. They can run with the Rush. Like, basically, these two teams are carbon copies of each other, right? Vancouver's got some veterans on defense. They've got youth everywhere. They've got lots of guys that can score, and that's why I think you saw unsung hero stepping up. That's why it was Levi Anderson, for most of the game, because the Vancouver Warriors could take away the Robert Churches and Ryan Keenans of the world, right? And vice versa. You saw Adam Charlambides have a big game for Vancouver because everybody else was taken away, right? I think if there's one team that's built to beat the Rush, it is Vancouver. So that was a huge statement win. And you know what? Defensively, that Vancouver team is worth every penny, Dave. Like, they're incredible defensively. To come from behind on a team like that, it's not something you're ever going to see. Plus, they just flat out don't like each other. Vancouver's been a thorn in their side for years. So yeah, it's a statement game. I think that is the game that's the exclamation mark going, okay, yeah, they are 100% first in the league, because preseason, a lot of guys, including myself, had Vancouver in that finals. I said on the broadcast, I would be floored, Dave, if one of the two teams that we saw on Saturday night was not in the final come here in May.
It's interesting when you mention Frank Chiliano, because it seems like the staple of a Derek Keenan-built team is a goaltender, whether that's Aaron Bold or you go up to Kirky, right? Yeah. Evan Kirk. So is Frank Chiliano the best goaltender in the NLL right now?
He's up there. He's in the mix, right? There is some very good goaltenders in the NLL right now. I mean, Frank's the reigning NLL goaltender of the year. To me, he's definitely top 3. I mean, Dylan Ward's having a bounce-back season. Christian Del Bianco is so good and adds such an element to the attack for Vancouver. I mean, that's a goaltender that's got 9 assists on the year. He's just outside of the forwards when it comes to scoring on that team, right? Like, so to me, it depends. But in terms of just a guy that's going to make that huge save to keep you in the game, that's Frank Chiliano, right? Like, he's not going to let your team down. He might let in 1 or 2 here or there that he might want back. I mean, every NLL goalie does that. But Frank's going to make the big save. Frank's the guy you can count on. And this team, the number one thing, Dave, is this team absolutely believes in Frank. And they realized what a huge asset he's been over the last 2 years. And what I really like for Frank is there were some haters when he came here, right? There was lots of talk when he came up from San Diego that, he can't win the big one. He can't be a full-time starter. He needs somebody else there. And he's come up and been the guy, and I could not be happier for him. Frank is one of the best dudes you'll ever meet off the floor. And I'm rooting for him, and he's the biggest part of this team right now, because you made the great point, Dave. If you look back to when they struggled kind of, right around the COVID era, you went through a bit of a revolving door in goal, and now they've got their rock again in Chiliano, and he's absolutely key. He was the key to victory on Saturday, right? Let in a few early on, but my goodness, did he shut the door.
Robert Church achieves a career milestone this year, but the offense doesn't necessarily start and stop with him, though. There's diversity. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. I mean, and that was this team last year, but you're just seeing it a little bit more this year. You're seeing a career year to Ryan Keenan. Like, Keenan's got 22 goals. Church has 20. Shanks has 19. Mans has 25. And in lacrosse, especially if you're scoring by committee, that's is what's going to make you successful. In lacrosse, it's easy to shut one or two guys down if you have good enough defenders. You're not shutting four down, and then you've got guys that are buying into roles that they've never played before. Again, I mentioned Brock Haley. He's bringing some physicality. Josh Zawada. These guys are used to being snipers, and now they're going to the dirty areas and getting loose balls and everything like that. But I think the difference this year, Dave, is Robert Church has been healthy, and Ryan Keenan has been oh so clutch. Like, you can give, I think last year, the team fell into a bit of a trap of, okay, who's taking that last shot? You know, game on the line, we need an overtime winner. Who's it going to be? And this year, it's like, okay, get the ball in the stick of Keenan and let him cook from there. And it brings a new edge to this team, right? It's a little bit of selfishness that they needed, or to be selfish is what they needed. And they're doing that a lot better this year in the big moments.
John Fraser, adversity presents itself in different forms. And when it comes to Ryan Keenan, some of the adversity that he's had to overcome is that he's got a C on his jersey. Chris Corbeil had it prior to him, and one of the best leaders in any sport I've ever seen. He also was a first overall draft pick, so there obviously are a lot of expectations out of that. And then his father is standing behind him on the bench, one of the best to ever do it in the National Lacrosse League. What has allowed Ryan Keenan to turn the corner and become the player that a lot of people thought that he would be when he was selected first overall?
I think he's learned to live with the expectations and shut out the noise, right? You're always going to, lacrosse is a small community, right? You're always going to have bloggers, podcasters, media members, whatever, always with that, oh, you know, he's only having a good season because he's the coach's son, right? But he earned that first overall selection of merit. I can tell you, every team in the league that year was taking him first overall, right? And I think he's gained some confidence, especially in his new role as a leader. You can tell, like, the guys in the room respect him. The young guys that have been with his team now for a couple of years are looking up to him. And it's funny. I don't think I've ever seen a player more snake bitten for the last 2 years than Ryan Keenan. Go back and watch any of his games. The guy just, like, ringing posts, like guys making heroic saves on him, the ball popping out a little early on him the odd time. Like, the guy just had the worst luck. And you'd see games. I think one game I remember last season, the guy hit 5 posts. He got 5 open looks, hit 5 posts. And that's kind of the way it's been for the last 2 years. And it's not this year for Ryan Keenan. It's like the lacrosse gods are finally like, okay, you can go have your career year again this year. He hasn't changed his game, and I love seeing it for Ryan. And as I joked on the broadcast, you know, probably the best looking guy on the team, and maybe that's part of it. You feel some extra pressure being that handsome. Something you and I don't know about, Dave.
I have no clue what you're talking about. Never heard that before with me in the same sentence, I'll tell you that for sure. So the Rush are getting set to head out to the U.S. on a couple of weekends in a row. They're playing 3 games in their next 2 weeks. How big of a... I know that Philadelphia, for example, isn't having the best season. How big of a next 2-week span is this for the team?
Well, I think it's huge. You've got to probably play the next 2 weeks without Holden Garland. And the thing I loved about the National Lacrosse League, and I've been saying this when it comes to the CFL for years, Dave, is the unified standings, right? There's no more Eastern Conference, Western Conference. It is just 1 through 14, top 8 get in. And it's a move I think the CFL should do because every game means something. So let's say hypothetically you blow one against Philadelphia because, you know, we all know, you and I have both done the role. We know it's not exactly easy to get from Saskatoon all the way down in the States, right? You drop one, well, right behind you, all of a sudden Colorado, they've won 7 in a row, right? Now you're tied with them. Georgia's only a game back, you know, with 3 losses, right? Vancouver's still lurking around there at 4 losses. So to me, it's the unified schedule has made it that you cannot look past a single game because it's absolutely huge to make sure you end up in those top seeds and you're hosting the opening round of the playoffs.
So who are the immediate... We've already discussed the Vancouver Warriors. Who are the immediate threats to the Saskatchewan Rush? Because for me on the outside looking in and having been in Denver and trying to play a game there with the altitude, I'm not going to kid you. I get winded going to the broadcast booth and I was walking. So Colorado would scare me if I'm the Rush. Who do you think are their immediate threats?
Colorado, Vancouver. I think we talked about, I mentioned how Vancouver is kind of built to beat them. Georgia's really good. Saskatchewan and Georgia, Saskatchewan wins that matchup probably. If they play 10 games, Saskatchewan's winning 7, right? Georgia's very good. They have very good goaltending. They're still very young. Toronto has been good this year, but same thing. They're very young. They kind of, when the spotlight's going to be the brightest, is Toronto still going to be there? Vegas has been sneaky good, but as soon as they lose Chase Fraser, no relation, they've fallen back a bit. But you said it, Dave. The Loud House is the hardest place to play in the NLL. Not just because of the altitude, because, I took every elevator I could when I was in Denver as well. But it is one of the toughest places to play, and they're right on their heels. And again, you drop one, maybe two of these games coming up that you should win in the States, and all of a sudden you're playing at the Loud House come the championship. And you look at it, how one game can matter, Dave. Look at last year. They lost home floor in the best of 3 against Buffalo by 1 game. So to me, you want to avoid playing in Colorado. You want to avoid playing in Vancouver. Those are the biggest threats. One I will throw out there that scares me a bit in a first round is Ottawa. Ottawa's the only team to make the Rush bleed their own blood this year, and they seem to be a bit of a matchup nightmare for the Rush. Now, was that just early on in the season? They played them in the second game, but Ottawa, man, there's some about them. Jeff Teat's the best player in the world that scares me in the first round. So that could be another one that could be a potential thorn in their side, I see.
John Fraser is the analyst with the Saskatchewan Rush on their broadcast network. Okay, before we let you go, it's often asked of me when I make my way around the province. It's trying to explain what a Saskatchewan Rush game is like for someone that hasn't been. Yes. And it's awesome when you talk to people that, for example, in Moose Jaw, there was the exhibition game there, and everybody in Moose Jaw seems to know what the Rush are all about. You talk to somebody that maybe isn't sure what to expect. I say, well, for example, last weekend, the theme was weddings, and they had a justice of the peace standing by should anyone want to tie the knot on the concourse. Anything and everything can happen, can't it?
Yeah, it certainly can. And the atmosphere, the energy the fans have been bringing back this year, and you've really seen it in the last 2 years. Like, SaskTel Center's filling up again. A big thing for me, Dave, is, the Saskatoon Entertainment Group, the guys that own them now, have brought ticket prices back to where this team was at the beginning, right? I think there's a bit of a perception that, Rush games are expensive. Man, $35 next home game. That's a ticket and a beer. And that's the kind of energy you get, right? I mean, it feels like the party's back. The energy's back. The enthusiasm's back. You got music going the whole time. Like, it's an experience that is unmatched in pro sports. And I loved, actually, this last game against Vancouver. We saw people from Swift Current. We saw people from Moose Jaw. Ran into some people from Regina. I love seeing the province back up here at SaskTel Center to take in what is the party. And, hey, how can you not support the best team in the league right now? They're an absolute wagon, entertaining as heck. And, it's hard to describe, Dave, but it's like pro wrestling with sports. And the thing I love about lacrosse is, guys like you and me that have called the games, we need to know the rules, the intricacies, stuff like that. For a fan, it's a simple game. Ball goes in net, and just don't be too violent. You be violent, but not like super violent.
Very true. And we should mention as well that the young lacrosse players around the entire province are always welcome to SaskTel Center, and it's pretty cool to see, at least 100%. For me.
Yeah, I love seeing it, and we saw a bunch of that last weekend, and put that in my veins every single week, Dave.
So, how's Canada going to do? Are we winning the gold medal in men's hockey at the Olympics?
Well, I'm feeling more optimistic because right below, if you notice my eyes wander a few times, Dave, I've got my phone right below my computer, and the Swedes just tied it up.
Oh, boy.
I think this is my scalding hot take, and this might get me deported from the country. I worry that if we see the Americans with McKinnon banged up, Crosby banged up, the Americans are seemingly healthy right now, and I think Connor Hellebuck is playing better than Jordan Binnington right now. I think if the Americans advance past this Swedish team, we're silver. I hate to say it. Please don't
thanks. We'll never have you again.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you one bit, Dave.
John Fraser, appreciate the time as always. Go Rush, go 9-1 to start the season. Enjoy the rest of the way. It's going to be a fun stretch run up in Saskatoon as the entire province gets behind our lacrosse team. Thanks for doing this, Johnny.
Anytime, buddy. We'll see you again, Dave.
John Fraser is the analyst with the Saskatchewan Rush, about to be deported from Canada. So congratulations to him. Hopefully his kids find a safe ride home tonight. I kid somewhat. But yes, it is 1-1 U.S. and Sweden with under a minute to go. See, Colson, we did not lose our broadcast license, nor will we be sued for being too close to the actual score. But it's under a minute to go.
Cutting it close.
I know, we were. But we like going and pushing that envelope here on the SportsCage. More of your thoughts coming up. Of course, you can weigh in on YouTube. Like, subscribe, pass it along. Colson likes that kind of stuff. Or, of course, the text line for Prairie Land Rentals is open at 306-936-6262. John Fraser was on the Western Pizza guest hotline. We take a break now on the SportsCage. Your senior hockey report still to come before 5 o'clock right here on SportsCage.com, streaming at X and YouTube, and, of course, on your radios at 620 CKRM. Okay, before we do a deep dive into our clutch performer for Kellen Solar, how about a clutch performer for the plow operators, the grader operators, the sand, the salt trucks that are going to be out in full force over the next 24 hours, I'm sure, and beyond in Saskatchewan after that snowstorm made its way through. I actually have a text from Tegan's Whitco. Tegan says, if you want to talk traffic, southbound traffic backed up on McCarthy just south of 11th Avenue, right at the construction zone by the tracks. I know where that is, by the just north of the Jack Hamilton Arena.
Oh, there you go.
See, look at me go. So anyways, traffic is backed up there. It is slow going in downtown Regina as well, as the streets are full of snow. Plan extra time in your travels if you do have to head out. The highways are gradually improving, and it is thanks to those clutch performers.
And anyone else that would have to do work in this weather, because when I was doing some errands this morning, I saw a couple Sask power trucks by the school near where I live. I was like, I do not envy you guys at all right now.
True.
Tow truck drivers, you too.
True. Absolutely. Tow truck drivers for sure. All right. Let's get into other clutch performers for Kellen Solar. 35 years of experience moving water from a dugout or well without electricity. Visit kellensolar.com to find out more for your livestock operation. Do we need to say more than Mitch Marner?
I don't think so. That's
overtime goal. Team Canada gets the men's Olympic hockey team off to the semifinals.
Yeah.
Mitch Marner?
Yeah.
Mark McMorris could generate some consideration.
Yeah, for coming back. Yeah.
Coming back, finishing 8th. I know he's disappointed in that. He finished the qualifying 3rd and then fell twice in his 3 runs today in the finals for the slopestyle event. So that's tough. But again, look what he's done. And he's just an all-around good guy, right?
Exactly. Our gold medalist today, too, the short track speed skating.
Yeah, absolutely.
His name's escaping me now, but I think that was the 500 meter.
Stephen Dubois.
There we go. Yeah. Pretty clutch. Getting a gold medal. Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure. Why not?
Yeah.
All clutch performers for Kellen Solar. 35 years of experience moving water from a dugout or well without electricity. Visit kellensolar.com to find out more for your livestock operation. Okay, coming up, we are going to get to the senior hockey report in a moment.
I was going to say, moving away from the Olympics, I saw this yesterday, and this is pretty clutch as well. I don't think there's any proper audio, so we'll give a description of it, but looks to be just like a men's league or a co-ed league soccer game. And it's a shot from inside the goal. So this goaltender, ball goes off the top bar.
Yeah.
He pushes it back out and then proceeds to block the offensive player who comes in and tries to kick it in to the very easy wide open net.
The part of that save, just seeing this for the first time, so the ball is headed in, hits the crossbar, goaltender falling into the net, pushes it out 2 hands, and then the offensive player from the other team comes in, tries to foot it in on a volley, and the hand hits the ball and the foot at the same time, and it stays out.
Yeah, goaltender diving up, making the save, and I'm like, whoo, man. I have played goal recreationally, and I don't think I ever could have made a save like that if I tried.
You know what is wrong with me? And there's a number of things. But one of the things that caught my eye at the end of that clip that you just showed was I was wondering if that was real grass or not. I have grass envy.
Fair enough.
Bad way.
Looking at it right now.
There's a couple of divots.
I would suspect those could be leaves.
Oh, maybe.
Like, looking at it, it looks too clean of a cut. I would suspect it's artificial.
Okay. Things we never knew that you never thought that would have been discussed, did you? Wow.
There we go.
We like covering it all. It is the Wednesday edition of Sports Cage for Regina Motor Products. The RMP Winter Tires at cost of it is on now until March 31st. When you purchase a set of 4 tires, visit RMP online or in person today. As promised, we'll talk some hockey in a moment. We're going to go to Brandon and your senior hockey report. It's coming up after the break here as we stream Sports Cage on YouTube, X, and sportscage.com, and are live on your radio at 620 CKRM.
All right, it is the Nooner fellas from the Monday Nooner podcast, here to talk about some senior hockey in the province of Saskatchewan. Last week, we said it's as good as it gets with more than 20 games of provincial action alone. That doesn't include the 14 leagues scattered throughout the province of Saskatchewan. But this week, fellas, is as good as any because we get into a little deeper into the provincial brackets. We start to separate the wheat from the chaff, as they say. We start to find out who the big dogs are. And fellas, I want to start in Senior A. Now, for people new to provincial senior hockey, this would be the big boy category, the unlimited imports, the stacked teams, the ton of pro guys that are coming in, and just some really good hockey. Bunch of big ones, but let's talk about the Round Lake Bears and the Redvers Rockets. I don't know who wants to take this one, but I've heard that ticket sales for the game in Redvers on Saturday, pre-sale only, they're expecting a full house in Redvers.
Boss, that is right. They are going to sell this thing out down in Redvers. Huge game for Redvers. I think they got to win game 1, going back to Round Lake for game 2. I think this one goes the distance, fellas. I don't know who's going to win. It's going to be a heck of a series.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Game 1, huge. One thing I feel, Round Lake, every year, it is a eclectic group of players from all over who've never played together before, which can be a little bit tough to get used to. I feel like the deeper they go, fellas, the stronger they get. Redvers, most of these guys have played together forever. I know they do have a good contingent of Carlisle players joining their team as well. So I think for Redvers, like Belt said, you win game 1, you get rolling. And then game 2 is back in Ochapowace First Nation on Sunday at 6 o'clock. That barn will be full. If you plan on making the drive, tell your spouse, I'm not going to be able to text you for a couple hours because there is no service in that joint at all. But you know those games are going to have a ton of people watching online too.
Boz, also in A this weekend, we got Lumsden heading up to Kindersley, game 1 of that series. That's also A. And if you're around Regina, you want to make a little jaunt north, Oxbow is in Southie, game 2 of the B, Senior B provincials. Oxbow is up 1 game to rip and could end it in the fish tank.
What else in A? We should mention that we mentioned the 2 series in the south, but the other side, the north side of the bracket, you've got the Loreburn 19ers and the Raymore Rockets. Game 1, Sunday, 5 o'clock in Loreburn. Wicked, what do you know about these 2 teams or this series, or what's your thoughts there?
Well, Raymore's pickups, I heard, were pretty darn good for them. And, they got that, I forget his name, Evan, the net, but he played with Moose Jaw Warriors, and he's pretty darn good.
Evanoff or something? No. Yeah.
Evanoff, and then they got former NHL defenseman Eric Greiba, who's heard he's playing 35 minutes tonight there, so... And that Van Oshaw, who scored 50 goals in Junior A. No, I don't think Loreburn picked up that many players. But it's going to be a tight series.
Yeah, Loreburn been kind of a sneaky, surprising team. And then the other one, in A, and we'll kind of highlight some A here more than anything on this Nooner update here on the Sports Cage. The number 1 team in the province, they're going for their 5th provincial title in a row, unprecedented. They've got a bit of a pipeline from the University of Saskatchewan Huskies program. Players graduate out of what is a juggernaut at the U of S. They got ties, they got buddies in Kenaston. They tend to get a lot of guys shuffling down the Highway 11 to play for the best senior hockey team in Saskatchewan, as per what they've done. The Kenaston Blizzards. They get the Foam Lake Flyers, who have been in the top 10 on our show all year long. They had a little bit of a bumpy last couple months or so, Foam Lake did, but now that it's go time, Wicked, I think they're going to give them a test. What do you think there? What makes you think that Foam Lake could have a chance in this one?
Well, Foam Lake's pickups, especially on D, like Corey Thomas, he plays for St. Brew, but in the Wheatland, but he played in the ECHL last year, won a cup in the ECHL, and he is a stud defenseman. Foam Lake got a really good goalie, and they got lots of talent on that team too. All three lines can score. All their defensemen are really good. It's like I said earlier. I'm thinking whoever wins this series could be the Provincial A champion.
There we go.
Both teams in the top 4 of the Monday Nooner top 10. Boz, before we get rocking here, one game I do want to highlight in C, the Shaunavon Badgers, the Hunter brothers, Dyson Stevenson, they're coming down to Assiniboia this weekend for game 2, 7:30 p.m. That is going to be a heck of a game. A lot of really homegrown local talent, Assiniboia and Shaunavon facing off. 4-2, Shaunavon takes game 1, but they were down 2-rip going into the third. I think Assiniboia is going to take this one, head it back down the number 1 to Shaunavon for game 3. It's going to be a heck of a game. If you're around there, head down and see that one.
I'm just thinking back to about 30 seconds ago, the collection of 620 CKRM listeners in Lumsden and Round Lake and everywhere else punching their steering wheels as Wicked said that Foam Lake Keniston winner is going to be a slam dunk to win A. So some
making friends, Wicked. You're making friends.
Making no friends in the South. But that's what makes it fun, is that any of these teams could win, and they've got such passionate fan bases all throughout the province. And we kid you not, when some of these games are streamed on the weekend, there will be thousands of people watching these live, not to mention the 1,500 to 2,000 in some of these rinks that they're getting on any given night of senior hockey provincials. If you're listening to this and you're thinking, man, that was a lot of information and I kind of want to find out more, see what these guys are talking about, you can listen to our podcast, the Monday Nooner podcast, with our weekly top 10. Or you can follow us on social media. We try to keep the brackets updated to see exactly who's playing who and when it's all going down. So if you're into senior hockey, you've come to the right place. That is the weekly report by the Monday Nooner boys on the SportsCage.
We're rolling on this Wednesday afternoon, the shovel-out day for much of Saskatchewan after the storm that was. Really, the snow has dissipated in downtown Regina, so the cleanup can begin, and it is going to be a heck of a cleanup to take care of this snow. I'm never a good guesser at the amount of snow that is on the ground. I can just tell you there's a lot. And underneath of it was some of the ice, and that is not a good thing. That makes it very slick. So if you're walking or driving, again, use extra time and caution. And if you see something others should know about, let us know on the Prairie Land Rentals text line at 306-936-6262. We need to go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline, however. Standing by, the one and only Mr. Croft, whom I have some shame for, as the biggest weekend of NASCAR racing was a dud for me because I forgot to submit my picks until it was too late.
I was going to say, it looked like you had a big goose egg there on in the points. So, but you got 35 more weeks to catch up. So
true, and it's fortunate because I was going with Kyle Busch to win.
Well, you'd look good for a long time, that's for sure. He was looking good early in the race. What a finish! That move by Reddick at the end was incredible. He couldn't quite hold it. He kind of crashed a couple guys, but he got across the finish line first. And as they say, rubbin's racing.
Absolutely. Of course, we'll have the full NASCAR report coming up. But before we talk a little bit about what's going on over at Croft Electric, today being the 18th of February, significant for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, Vanna White is 69 today, which is big. The other part, though, is I looked at it today, and I almost fell off my chair that it was 25 years ago that Dale Earnhardt Sr. passed away at just the age of 49 in the final lap of Daytona 500. I will never forget that day. You?
Yeah, agreed. And they actually did on the third lap. They every Daytona 500 now. And especially that being the 25th. They did the third lap. The whole place went silent, and everybody just holds up three fingers. Even the drivers hold them up out of their windows, and they just kind of do a one lap during the race, the third lap. So it was super cool watching that as well.
Have you ever been to a NASCAR race?
Oh, I've been to probably 10 or 15, yeah, including the 500. I was there about 10, 15 years ago.
So would that be
I've been to a lot of races.
That's the top race to attend then in your mind?
Oh, I don't know. Bristol. I went to Bristol. That was pretty cool from a fan's perspective. They call it the last great Coliseum. That whole the racetrack kind of looks like the Coliseum. It completely surrounds the track, and it's like 4 stories high of just seats. You know, you're like just staring down at this little tiny short track. And I'll tell you what, I've never had anything louder, and I don't want to say heard anything louder in my life because I'm not sure I even heard anything. It wasn't even just noise. It was just so loud you couldn't make anything out. It was amazing.
Have you ever driven a race car?
I've driven just like a normal, like one when we run at Kings Park. I've never been in like you can do the driving experiences in a bunch of the tracks. I have not. That's kind of one of my bucket list things. Most times when I go to the track, I'm there to watch a race, so that that kind of stuff's not happening on the track. But I do have that on the list to go to Vegas. Vegas does it. I think Phoenix has one too, a driving experience. It looks like a good time.
Well, and the one thing I'll tell you, so I've had the opportunity to drive a Pro Truck, it was called. And so you look at the line and you think it's so smooth, right? And that was my whole goal in this experience, was just to stay smooth and in my line. That and not spinning, because the people before me had all spun this truck out. I'm like, I don't want to be that guy. And it looked like, you went back and watched the video, it looked like I was running a diamond, because I would go up high on the bank and come back. It was disgusting. So way easier than it looks.
As they say, drive pretty. You just want to look just easy, and it's amazing. I don't know if you've seen when you watch, and they'll show their hands through the from windshield, and they're just look like. But when it does go to when things start to happen, their hands are moving so fast, but they're still catching that car, and it's amazing. Like a lot of people talk about them not being athletes, and it's like, well, first of all, your heart rate is like a triathlete for 4 hours. Yeah. Your G-forces your bodies are taking, in and out of those corners repeatedly. Yes, the car is doing the heavy lifting out of all of it, but you got to somehow sit there. So.
You absolutely, completely agree with you, Mr. Croft. Well, let's talk a little bit about electricity. And I remember on the farm growing up, one of the things my grandfather despised was when there was freezing rain, with all the things that it could do to the electrical grid, not just getting power to the farm, but keeping power amongst the things that he had going on the farm. But maybe a generator, this is the reminder. This is the opportunity to think that maybe I should explore a generator.
Yeah, please give us a call if you're even thinking about it. We can give you a quick budget over the phone, whether it's on the farm or your business or even in the city. But yeah, agreed on the farm and rural communities. Like I know I live on a farm myself, and having that stuff taken care of ahead of the storm, being prepared for the storm, making sure that all of your electrical system is up and ready to go. So when that 40 below hits, when that blowing snow hits, when that freezing rain, then snow hits and the drifts blow over the ice and all the things, that you're not out there trying to fix a water bowl, trying to fix lights, get your yard light to work because you got to go out and check the cows. And, you've been looking at that yard light and it hasn't been working right. And all the, or the panel or in the shop, there's something not quite working right. Give us a call. Let us get out ahead of time. Let us fix that stuff for you. Right now, we're running our preferred customer program, which brings us out and lets us do a 24-point inspection on your electrical facility, and that'll get us ahead of some of those problems. Let us find them before there are problems. And then the other thing it does, it makes us super cost-effective when there is a problem. We just know your infrastructure, and we can come out and fix it quickly.
And as part of that program, you send out a really cool newsletter, and the preferred membership is outlined on the email that I received earlier today. But this is cool because it's not a spam thing or anything. It just brings your attention to, hey, here's what is available to you so that you don't miss out on an opportunity to save money, is the way that I would go ahead and frame it. How do you frame it?
Well, that's 100% what we're trying to do. We're trying to just make sure people understand that preferred loyalty program also gives you a discount on our labor rate and gives you a 10% discount on our material. So first of all, we're gonna know what kind of panel you have. We're gonna know where your electric infrastructure is set up, and we're gonna give you discounts when we do come out. So it's like a win-win-win, if that's even a thing, right? So the more we can help, the more we can get out to your farm or your business or your house and get to know your electrical system, the easier and quicker we can fix it when and if there's ever a problem. And ideally, we can get ahead of most problems so that you don't even have a problem.
Win, win, win. Definitely not Kyle Busch this weekend. For folks that aren't watching the stream at sportscage.com or, of course, on YouTube or X, your phone number is plastered right up beside your beautiful face. But for folks that want to get in touch with you, how can they do that listening in on the radio right now?
The best way is 306-586-1333. That'll get you over to Amy. Amy is a miracle worker on juggling schedules if she's got to get you in an emergency, or even better if she can pre-book, a couple days or a week out. Of course, follow us on all socials. We got some Friday funnies and some Tip Tuesdays on there to keep you up to date with stuff, and as well as our website at www.croftelectric.com. You can book online, book a quote, or a call right online.
Mr. Croft, as always, it's been a pleasure. Enjoy the remainder of your day. Go Canada, go, and we will talk again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
There you go. Mr. Croft, still on a Mr. informal basis, but someday, I'm going to elevate my level to the Crofty nickname status. That's just not today. Let's get to your Sports Cage ticker.
It's time for the Sports Ticker. The early bird spring sale is on now at Extreme Hockey. 15 to 25% off store-wide. 1425 McIntyre Street. Online at extremehockey.net. And now open in Moose Jaw.
Well, Canada, 2-medal day. Stephen Dubois wins a gold medal for Canada in speed skating, so that's good news for Canada as we up our medal count to 14 today, thanks to a pair of medals. Also, when it comes to the ice today, we should congratulate Team Canada. They get through to the semifinals with a big 4-3 overtime win over Czechia today. They will take on Finland. That's because the U.S. defeated Sweden 2-1 in overtime in their quarterfinal just moments ago. Quinn Hughes, the former captain of the Vancouver Canucks, yes, it still hurts, fellow Canucks fans. He got the goal for the U.S. So they will play Slovakia in one semifinal, as mentioned, Canada and Finland in the other. Curling today, the men won earlier this morning. They clinched a playoff spot, round out the round robin against Norway tomorrow. Canada and Rachel Homan, an extra end to get by Italy, and they won it by mere inches, but they were on the right side of the inch on this one, and will play Korea tomorrow with a playoff spot on the line. Don't forget the U Sports CCAA Canadian Curling Championships continue over at the Cali Curling Club. Chloe Johnston defeated Queens 8-4 this afternoon. Carter Williamson of the U of R fell to Dalhousie 6-5. So Chloe Johnston is 1-1. Carter Williamson is 0-2 from the U of R. They're both back on the ice later on this evening, and there are 3 games tonight in the under-18 AAA Midget Hockey League today, with Warman playing Battlefords. Saskatoon and the Blazers welcome Moose Jaw, while Prince Albert travels to Tisdale. And that is your Sports Cage ticker for Extreme Hockey. Coming up after 5 o'clock, Inside the NHL with Eric Francis. Arash Madani will join us, talk a little bit about, remember that tax talk we had yesterday?
Yeah, it was delayed.
Delayed for sure.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
We'll get to that. And more of your thoughts on the greatest Canadian television show of all time after the littlest hobo showed up at the cross-country ski event in Milan Cortina today. SCTV has been nominated on the Prairie Land Rentals text line. I forgot about that.
There we go. I also don't know what that one is, but...
No,
what else is new? I have a late nomination for our Clutch Performers.
Yes.
It's been brought to my attention that after pulling the OT winner, Roberto Luongo tweeted out, Marner was born to wear that maple leaf on his chest.
So is it Roberto Luongo agreeing with us, or you want to give Roberto Luongo the Clutch Performer?
The Clutch Performer for just stirring the pot with Leafs fans a little bit.
Okay, win-win. Win-win situation right there. Okay, we'll pause for news, come back with more of the Sports Cage for RMP in a moment. Sports Cage, we are streaming online on X, YouTube, and sportscage.com. And of course, you can stream us online from the CKRM website or over the radio on 620 CKRM. Dave Thomas in for Tegan Whitco and Barney Shankaruk on this Wednesday edition of the Sports Cage. Colson Schultz is riding shotgun. No matter where you may be traveling in the province, there are some travel not recommended warnings going to the north of us. If you're heading to the east and west, the highways have got some snow on them for sure, as well as some reduced visibility. So check the highway hotline before you head out anywhere today. If you're just checking us out for the first time today, it's a 2-medal day for Canada over at the Olympics. Our Stephen Dubois skated to a short track gold in the men's 500 meters, while the women's 3,000 meter short track speed skating relay team skated to bronze. We've got 14 medals in total, 4 gold, 4 silver, and 6 bronze. Good day for the Canadian Olympic men's hockey team on the ice. They score an overtime win. Our curlers, not bad either. Well, Rachel Holman was almost real bad, but she won a game by an inch in an extra end. We'll discuss that coming up a little bit later on. We've still got to go coast to coast with Arash Madani. Going to sprinkle a little for Sports Select. But speaking of Sports Select, let's get inside the NHL.
Now for Inside the NHL with Eric Francis on the Sports Cage. Inside the NHL is brought to you by Sports Select. Getting in on more of the sports action you want is as easy as playing at sportsselect.com. Simply make your picks online, generate your QR code, and lock in your bet at your local Lotto Spot retailer.
He's back from holidays, and he's got a question to answer right off the hop. It's Eric Francis joining us. Good afternoon, sir. Question for you. What is the most Canadian thing that you saw today? A former discarded Toronto Maple Leaf coming up in a big moment at the Olympics, or the littlest hobo showing up at the cross-country ski venue?
I loved them both, and I love Littlest Hobo more than almost anything. That was a great show. There's no question about that. But those were two pretty incredible. One was an incredible moment. One was very humorous. But man, Mitch Marner, Toronto's favorite whipping boy. Maybe he wasn't so bad all these years after all. I was at the Four Nations, and he made quite a splash there. As soon as he scored today, first thing I thought of was him scoring, making that big impact in that game at the Four Nations as well in overtime. And, he's got this reputation, and I would be the first to admit it. When those games get tough in the playoffs, Mitch Marner disappears. But he has not disappeared on the two biggest stages he's been on in his life so far. And, man, what a moment for Canada.
Full disclosure, he went in 1-on-3, and I am yelling at the screen for him. Turn back, man. Turn back so we can get McDavid on the ice. This ice in his veins, I guess if it works out, you're good, right?
I mean, possession is the name of the game in overtime. So, I just watched that, obviously we all just watched the Sweden game as well. And I blame that on the captain, Landeskog. First of all, making a really terrible shot attempt at the one end and then not being able to contain Quinn Hughes. I mean, not many people can in today's NHL, but you got to keep that puck. So you're right. When Mitch Marner's going in 1-on-3, I play with a lot of guys in beer league hockey who try to do that all the time. It drives me nuts. But I don't have the Olympic medals on the line when they inevitably, dribble it into the corner. You're right. It worked. So I guess we can't complain about it, but that was a recipe for giving up the puck, which is always could be your last fatal flaw in overtime when it's 3-on-3.
So I know that you've had some downtime during the Olympic break. I'm sure you've kept in touch with the tournament. What's your takeaway thus far in the event as a whole?
Funny, I did predict at the beginning that America would win the tournament, and I did it begrudgingly. I did it out of fear, because I've feared for 30 years that they're eventually going to take us over in our sport. And I really believe that. Just it's a numbers game with the more and more people in the States playing the game and their population. But, the one thing that I took solace in was the fact that we probably have, the 3 or 4 best players in the world in McDavid, Crosby, Makar, and McKinnon. You want to throw Celebrini in that conversation, I'll listen. But, you also got to throw Quinn Hughes in that conversation because he's right there with Makar. But when Crosby went down today, obviously that's concerning for Canada in terms of our star-studded, depth. But then also the way we employed those other 3 guys, I love that they're all on the same line. Celebrini, McKinnon, and McDavid. It's a dream come true. And it's the story of the tournament to me. But they played them so much in the final period and in overtime. I was starting to get a little worried, is this where the lack of, I don't want to say the lack of depth, but come on, someone else needs to stand up here. And obviously Marner did, and Suzuki did in even bigger fashion earlier on. So, we do have the depth, and we do have all the horses that could do all these things. I was just waiting for someone to do it. That gives me comfort as we move forward that other guys could step up, because those other guys really have carried the mail. The big boys have carried the mail this whole tournament.
Eric Francis, at the risk of getting kicked out of Canada, I won't offer my opinion on this, but John Cooper seems to be of the thought process that Sidney Crosby was targeted and it was a dirty hit that he took today. Where do you stand?
I love John Cooper, and this is probably one of his buttons he's trying to push, and I didn't see it that way at all. That's fine. I'm not going to come down on Coop. I think he's the best coach in the world. So I didn't see it the same way. But there were 3 different hits where I could sit there and point to and say that's where the damage was maybe done. It looks to me like it's a groin issue, or but I know they're also talking about a knee and he's going to get the MRI. So he gingerly walked off. It was an awful scene. We'll all remember it. And boy, oh boy, we hope it's not going to be the difference in this whole tournament. Did you see it as targeted? Because I didn't.
See, and that's why I risked getting kicked out of Canada, because I didn't think it was a targeted play. I just thought it was unlucky the way that the leg folded underneath him when he was hit.
Yeah, and like every team, and Canada's probably the biggest culprit of it, them in the States, you're hitting to hurt right now. It's the biggest stakes they've ever played for. And so whenever you finish a check, you're trying to, I don't want to say you're trying to hurt the guy, but the reason you hit guys a lot of times is to inflict pain, or at least take away their will to compete moving forward. And I just didn't see that. I didn't see that. Man, I can't imagine that he can play again in this tournament. I'm not going to sit here and try and guess what his future is this year in the NHL, but can you see him playing again in this tournament? Like, he doesn't leave that game unless he's significantly hurt. And the way he left the ice, too, was very, very precarious.
Well, and isn't there a thought that could be his presence on the bench? Now, I'm not saying that the Canadians need any more leadership, but just the threat of him potentially returning to the ice may have been something that would have Czechia had to contend with, if you understand what I mean?
Yeah. And they had that same discussion when Victor Hedman spent the entire game on the bench with Sweden. And, is there merit to him staying on the bench and offering his support and leadership? Or is it better spent 3 hours getting treatment of any sort to try and, get him healthier quicker? Obviously those things are all weighed. And so, but yeah, to your point, if he's not even coming back to sit there, boy, it's not good. Not good.
Are you worried? I'll tell you, I'm genuinely worried. I love this tournament. I love the best-on-best format. I think this is sensational hockey. But with Nathan McKinnon being nicked up, Sidney Crosby not finishing a game, Kevin Fiala breaking his pelvis, which I didn't understand you could do in a hockey game, this worries me that the NHL owners might say, our guys aren't going again.
Yeah, the owners can say that all they want, but the players worked it into the CBA that they get to go to this thing. And look, it's I don't know if an owner would ever admit this on the record, but even if the sacrifice is one of their players for the balance of the season, and we saw it with John Tavares in the last go round, and we're seeing it, potentially with a couple guys this year. For the greater good, they need to be here. This hockey really needs this. Hockey will benefit from this long term. I just saw the Forbes list, like the Calgary Flames are worth $1.8 billion, and they're like the 22nd ranked. These owners, you sacrifice a player here or there, and that can be very costly. Don't get me wrong. But these are the risks you take when you own a professional sports franchise. For the greater good, you need to be at the Olympics, and there's no other way to look at it. They're like, as a fan, how furious would you be if they just said, the owners came down and said, no, in the next CBA, we're not going to let them go to the Olympics because 3 guys got hurt last time around. Like, we just wouldn't stand for it as fans.
As a Canucks fan, I'm really hoping that Elias Pettersson does get hurt. No, I'm just kidding. I did not say that. I did not say
that, not me.
We talked about this a little bit yesterday when it came to the French Federation, and they kicked their own player off the team, and then the whole team says, well, no, what are you doing? You messed with one of our brothers. This is chemistry. What's your take on this?
Look, that's not their sport. They don't get it. They don't understand that what he did was the right thing to do, to stand up for teammates, to fight. I think that didn't the Federation take more umbrage with the way he exited the arena where he was whooping the crowd into a frenzy? But again, we're in the entertainment business. I know the Olympics is not about entertainment as much as it is medals, but the game of hockey, the sport that we all cover and talk about every day, is the entertainment business. And when a guy is interacting with a crowd, whether it's in a pot, obviously if he's flipping them all the bird, that's not good. But he was just having fun with it and running with the moment. And it's pretty pathetic that, a country that clearly doesn't know anything about hockey, they've got these big heads who've decided that this is contrary to the spirit of the Olympics. Good God, learn your sport a little better before you start to try and suspend a guy. Good on the players for revolting.
Could you have imagined what they would have done with any of the Kachuk's antics?
Oh my! They'd have them drawn and quartered in France. You know what I mean? You can't. Or the guillotines was very popular in France back in the day. So those Kachucks better not change their passport. I don't think they will anytime soon. But hey, can I ask you this? I'm curious people's take on this. The old, Colston's done this before. The most annoying sound in the world from Dumb and Dumber.
Oh yeah.
Do you know that scene? I would second that and say that to me, the most annoying sound I've ever heard in my life is the USA chant. I think it just, nothing angers me more in this. I'd rather be stuck in traffic for 4 hours than hear people, especially live in a building, these yahoos yelling USA. When we say Canada, do you think it still has the same effect on other people that they want to inflict pain on the person next to them? Or is it different because the arrogance that is behind the USA chant?
Rivalry behind it. Because even hearing it at curling venues and other venues, I'm like, wow, that's loud. Maybe it's not the right place, but you know what? At the end of the day, it does somewhat make me envious because there is that heightened sense of patriotism.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. At what cost? It annoys the rest of the world. But that's look. I just spent 2 weeks in Cabo, and the American people that you interact with there are very obviously the American people. You can tell the Americans from the Canadians. I don't know. I hope the Mexicans can too, because we try to wear our colors everywhere we can. Because the worst thing in this world right now you could be accused of is being an American abroad. And so, but I guess that's one thing they're known for around the world is being proud. But man, I wish there were other ways they could show it other than that damn chant. It's just the most annoying thing I've ever heard.
We actually did a case study on that in a marketing class in university. I didn't complete the course. What? As you can see, I'm here. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I there was a hockey game earlier this year, and I think it was a Flames game, and at the end of the game, they started, because at the end of the game, the two guys were trying to fight each other, and it's an NHL game in an American rink, and they start chanting USA, USA. The guy on their team that was trying to start that was getting involved was a Canadian. The guy on the Flames was Canadian. It had nothing to do with America. Do you know what I mean? But it's just let's puff out our chest and scream stupid stuff, and that's what Americans do best.
What also is the trend in hockey now? The goalie fight. The goalie fight has become in vogue, as there was one in the Western Hockey League between Penticton and Prince George the other night. Like I tell you, is that the cool thing now? You say it's an entertainment business, I guess.
Damn right. I got no problem with it. Look, I remember when Cam Talbot fought Mike Smith, which was the last goalie fight we saw before the most recent one, the Vasilevsky one.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to Cam Talbot the next day, and the whole world was fascinated by it. Pososa was in the middle of Battle of Alberta and all this other stuff. But Cam Talbot told me it was on his bucket list. Before his career ended, he wanted to get into a goalie fight. And his wife very specifically said, when he spoke of that out loud years earlier, his wife said, okay, as long as you don't fight either. And I think she listed two guys. I think the first was Pekka Rinne, but only because he was so big. And the second one was Mike Smith, because he was also very big. She says, as long as you don't fight one of those two guys, I'm okay with it. Sure enough, you can't pick your opponent sometimes. You got to pick your spot. And so what I'm saying is, I think these guys, it is becoming more and more a badge of honor. Like every goalie nowadays would love to score a goal and be in a goalie fight. I'm not sure where they'd rank them on their bucket list, but one or the other is something that I think most guys would say, before the end of my college career or professional career, that's something I've got to do.
So Cam Talbot maybe never, ever, ever had a no trade clause, but he had a no fight clause with his wife. Makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Now, here's one other thing. If you Google the KHL All-Star Game this year, maybe you've spoken of this already, they did a hardest shot competition for the goaltenders. And that was fantastic theater because almost all of them fell. Like they all took a big running start, and once they whiffed on the shot, then they would careen into the net. It was great theater. I would love to see that added. I mean, if we have to do an All-Star Game, please let's add something interesting about it, and that would be it.
No doubt. You know, I'm fascinated that NHL teams are back already. For some reason, I didn't think that players had to report until the weekend, but they've got like a week of training camp. How would that suck coming back from whether you're down south? I guess probably everybody's talking about what they did on their winter vacation right now, but this seems exorbitant. No, 7 days before you actually start playing games?
Absolutely ridiculous. I came back from Cabo last night. I was going to stay another week. And then when I found out the NHL was ordering the players back, yesterday by 2 p.m. they had to be back in the building. I'm like, what? So I came back early. The players came back early. And, you know, it was kind of interesting today. I have to say, I have to paint this picture for you. Flames are practicing, and the Canada game is on the Jumbotron at the Dome above them. And the guys, the whole practice, when it went into overtime, the guys are like, some guys were missing passes because they were looking up and trying to see what the score was. And then, there are only about 5 people that cover the Flames now left because the business is dying. The 5 of us exploded cheering when Canada scored the overtime winner. And the players were like thanking us after. Thanks for cheering us on during practice today, boys. It really meant a lot to us. I got news for you, boys. But anyway, they appreciated us also letting them know that they had to look up and see the game winner. So it was a surreal experience. Yeah, the fact that they're back is ridiculous.
Could Coach Huska, if he wanted, said, "Hey, boys, take another couple of days. It's on me," or is this is mandated? You got to be back.
Dude, for coaches, this is Christmas. They love this. They bag skated the Flames for the last 10, 15 minutes. Because they know these guys were all in Cabo and Hawaii, and they've all got great tans, and they know that they did very little over the last week and a half, whatever the case may be. So these coaches see this as a huge opportunity to really get these guys, back in shape from whatever edge they lost over the last 10 days. It's a bit ridiculous, but I'm telling you, coaches see this as very valuable. They would not pass this up at all. Coaches they don't get much practice time this year. I get that as well. Mm-hmm. So they want to make the most of it.
Okay, I need you to chime in and help us. Colson, the poor lad, has never seen an episode of The Littlest Hobo or Beachcombers. Those two have been nominated as the greatest Canadian show of all time after that dog ran the cross-country course today. So where are we going with this generation of Canadians that have never any inclination of The Littlest Hobo or Beachcombers? Yeah,
I mean, it's probably pretty tough to explain to someone who's 20 or 30 years old right now that this was actually a hit show, that this dog would go and save this, every half hour would go and save the world from something. It's pretty ridiculous. And if we're honest with each other, you and I look back at it with rose-colored glasses, but the reality is it was terrible TV. But it's all we had. It was our TV. And I'm lumping in another one that maybe people in the West don't know, but growing up in the Toronto area, King of Kensington. I don't know if that...
Yes!
I don't know if that... Yeah?
When he's walking down the street, he smiles at him.
Al Waxman was his name. And I remember being I was at a World Series game, and for some reason I somehow got into a private box, and in that box was Roger Staubach, who at the time was a big deal in the world, Deanie Petty, and Al Waxman. And I wasn't sure who made me more excited. Deanie Petty, I had a crush on my whole life as a young man. And Al Waxman was the goddamn king of Kensington. And whose autographs did I walk out of from that evening? Al Waxman and Deanie Petty. Roger Staubach could beat it. I had no interest. I had no interest after my stars were in my eyes for the other two Canadian celebs.
The Deanie Petty Show, right on after 11:30 before you got to the news and Flintstones.
And just before the Love Boat.
There you go. Eric Francis inside the NHL for Sports Select. Welcome back. Thanks for doing this with me today. Go Canada, go. We'll be talking, I guess, on semifinal Friday.
Yeah, we'll talk Friday. We'll have lots to talk about then, too. Take care. That was fun.
All right. Eric Francis joining us on the Western Pizza guest hotline. I guess Colson's just looking at me with blank eyes like, the King of Kensington? Are you kidding me? Oh, boy. Another great theme song. Back when shows had theme songs. It was good. All right. We're going to take a break. Come back with a SportsCage ticker. We got to or should we sprinkle a little now? Let's sprinkle now. Why not? Let's go off the beaten path now that my head is consumed with thoughts because I can't remember what the King of Kensington's wife's name was in that show.
I'm gonna be.
No, you're not gonna know. Probably won't even be it'll be somewhere on the internet. But anyways, let's sprinkle a little. It's of course for our friends over at Sports Select. Of course, you can do it online with a QR code. You can go in store to your local lottery retailer, whatever you want to do. It's a lot of fun, and of course, all the proceeds stay in the province of Saskatchewan with your legal betting option, which is Sports Select and the sprinkle of the day. Again, get in on more of the sports action you want. As easy as playing at sportselect.com. What are we looking at, Colson? Canada, USA.
We talked about this one yesterday, so we could go on to other things.
Mm-hmm. The line has not moved for the women's hockey gold medal game tomorrow between Canada and the U.S.
Not at all.
So still a 1.5 goal favorite, if you will.
Yeah. Men's futures are up for that one still. I think Canada was like a 1.95 yesterday, and the USA was like at a 3.
Yes.
So they're bringing them down as we get closer to.
Yeah. Still Canada the favorite to win, though, according to Sports Select.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. Slovakia, the long shot, and Canada gets them. After today's game against Czechia, I'm not counting anybody out, but I'm just saying. So there you go. Your sprinkle of the day. Did we decide? Did you pick? Because Eric Francis said U.S.
Yeah. No, I still think, because there's one more game to go, so I think that'll be enough time for the few guys who are hurt to heal up a bit. So assuming that it's Canada and the U.S. in the gold medal, I think we still got it.
Still got I think, you know what? I think that's an optimistic approach when it comes to the injuries.
Yeah.
Need some of that miracle water that they sprinkle on the soccer players when they're down in the You see that? Need some of that right now for healing. But Canada is still the favorite after they won their quarterfinal over Czechia today. They will play Slovakia, in a semifinal on Friday. The women's gold medal game in hockey, Canada-US, is tomorrow afternoon. We will take that break. Coming up, we are going to go coast to coast with Arash Madani, as well get to your SportsCage ticker as we count down here on this Wednesday afternoon and get set to shovel, Colson and I. Maybe a neighbor's listening right now. Just throwing that out there.
His wife was Kathy.
Kathy?
And then at the end of the third season, they divorced.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So, okay, the actress's name is Fiona Reed, but at the end of the third season, she decided to leave the series, so Larry and Kathy divorced. Larry then dated Tina in the 4th season and Gwen Twinning in the 5th.
See, that's wild because back when that show was on, divorce was frowned upon. That's why I'm surprised. Anyways, well done. Good research.
There you go.
Yeah, we got more people chiming in on our text line for Prairie Land Rentals and Sales since 1986. Sorry. Big or small jobs, they've even got snowblowers, skid steers. Deal with the owner at 600 Albert Street. 306-936-6262 is that text line. We take that break for SportsCage.com. That's where we're streaming, as well as on X and YouTube, and on your radio at 620 CKRM. Dave Thomas filling in for Barney Shankaruk and Tegan Whitco on this Wednesday on the Sports Cage. It's almost shoveling time in Saskatchewan after the dump of snow that we had, but that gives us more excuse to stay inside and watch the Olympics. Arash Madani joining us coast to coast. Good day, sir. Another medal day for us at the Olympics. What caught your attention aside from the hockey game?
Well, another gold medal, and it's really amazing, Dave, that, you know, if you kind of look at the whole landscape of what Canada has done at these Olympic Games, we are a speed skating nation. Say that a few times and wrap your head around. Canada is a short track speed skating nation, a long track speed skating nation. Doesn't matter the discipline. Pretty amazing to see another one today.
How much does the impact of Katerina Lemaydon have on speed skating in our nation? Even Clara Hughes, two were huge, but I draw from the Katerina Lemaydon from living in Saskatoon for so long and the number of young athletes that she inspired.
Yeah, I think that's a part of it. I think it's a big part of it. Good call on Clara Hughes as well. Dave, I also think it has a lot to do with us hosting the Calgary 88 Olympics and having an indoor oval to have as a national training center to develop these athletes, to have somewhere where people from all over the country come. You look at Isabel Weideman, who just won her second gold medal in as many Olympics. She's from Ottawa, you know, and she has relocated to Calgary. Yvonne Blondin, same deal, has relocated to Calgary because of the facilities. And I think that's a big part of all of this, is that when you have the infrastructure in place, and then you have people like, I mean, for those watching on the stream here, you have Valerie Malte and you have Yvonne Blondin and Isabel too. When you have a generation prior having success, don't forget Cindy Clausen.
Yes.
What a decorated career Cindy Clausen had. You know, you put all of that together in the blender, and it's a big part of how and why Canada has dominated on the podium in this sport the way they have.
This is going to sound absolutely ridiculous, but when you talk about Olympic infrastructure, a lot of people point to Calgary in 1988 and not Vancouver in 2010. Is there a reason for that?
Yes. I think, there's a couple of things. One, so Calgary's legacy in hosting an Olympics became winter facilities, this is going to be the high performance mecca. What Vancouver focused on was a few things. One was to be cost effective. I mean, you know, 1988 to 2010, the economics of an Olympic changed a lot in 22 years. But what Vancouver did was they added a train line that went from downtown out to the airport. The Canada line didn't exist before. Mm-hmm. They've twinned the highway out to Whistler, infrastructure. They've added a brand new state-of-the-art convention center downtown that is bringing so much business. You know, they already had Whistler, they already had Cypress Mountain. They repurposed, Dave, a lot of original existing facilities into venues. And it was almost, you know, and that was a big reason for it. So they used whatever they had, a lot of new things, and as a result, the Vancouver Olympics ended up running a profit at a time where these days Olympics are costing cities and countries hundreds of millions of dollars.
Oh,
sorry, I may have cut off there. I just said, you know, these days Olympics can cost hundreds of billions of dollars, if not billions.
I think Montreal's still paying for theirs, but that's a different story for a different day. But the trivia question from this Olympics will be Michael Kingsbury. Won our first gold medal of the games, which I thought was pretty remarkable to see. But that has you concerned, though.
Well, it's not just Kingsbury. I look at these speed skaters who have won medals. You know, Kingsbury won his first medal, got to his first Olympic podium like 3 or 4 Olympics ago. These speed skaters are now in they've won back-to-back gold medals. They're at their 3rd, if not 4th, Olympic Games. You know what we're not hearing, Dave? young Canadian athletes who are emerging and stepping up. And so much of this, what you have here are the vets who are having success, the vets who have been through it, the vets who really were the recipients of all the government funding that went into Vancouver 2010. And let's make sure that as a country, we're not going to embarrass ourselves on the global stage. And in a lot of these sports, there isn't another generation coming. Piper and Paul did okay in ice dance, but they were the heir apparents to Tessa and Scott, and this is probably their last one too. You look at the pipeline through our winter sports, and there aren't a ton of medal threats coming, and that's going to be a real problem after these Olympics.
Now, I'm kicking myself right now because I can't remember the athlete that shared their story, and they were tens of thousands of dollars in the hole funding themselves and their Olympic dream. So I guess maybe that's the thought starter when it comes to funding Olympic athletes and the conversation that, like you said before, 2010 was big. Does it come back full circle now?
Well, we had a speed skater who just won a medal at the Olympics, and he's literally sticking around Europe for a while after because he has a place to crash on a buddy's couch instead of flying home and then returning for the World Championships. He's $20,000 to $25,000 out of pocket already in 2026. We have a bobsled program that has literally gotten their sled from the Germans because the Germans upgraded theirs. And instead of throwing it in the dumpster, they said, "Hey, Lumsden, you want our sled?" That's kind of what's going on. I shouldn't say kind of. That is absolutely what's going on. It's absolutely what's happening. It's actually a national embarrassment when you think about it. Dave, I'll tell you this story, man. I was at Rio 2016, and the last night, the closing ceremony, the night before the closing ceremony, was the last HIP concert in Kingston. So Canada Olympic House, they had an event with the athletes and the coaches and the media and the broadcasters and the sponsors, whatever. And so we're finally done. It's been a long Olympics. It's been great. And, you know, I've set up shop where I usually do at functions like these, right at the bar. And this dude comes up to me, Dave, and he's in a sling, and his face is all battered to hell. Kind of looked at him like, "Hey, man, you okay?" He's like, yeah. And he said, "Hey, you're Arash, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm a big Jays fan." I said, "Oh, okay." And this is 2016, right? So it's the heart of the Bautista, Donaldson, whatever era. And he says, "Do you think they're going to re-sign Encarnacion?" And I said, "Oh, man, I don't know." I said, "I think the Jays are willing to offer 3 years 60, but Edwin's looking for a fourth year. If he can get 4 years 80, he'll just go there, wherever that is." And he ended up getting it from Cleveland. And the guy just kind of looked at me with this smile on his face, and he said, $80 million, huh? And I said, "Yeah." "Why?" He said, "Look at me." He said, "I busted my collarbone. My face is a mess. My jaw's screwed up. I've broken some teeth." He's like, "I was a BMX rider in the Olympics, and I had a big fall, for Canada." He said, "You talk about $80 million. He said, "I got $24,000 in funding this year, and I thought I won the lottery, and you're talking to me about $80 million bucks." And I kind of looked at him and I said, "Dude, I'm sorry to tell you this, but that's 80 million US after the exchange rate." Edwin's probably making more in a day than you made this year.
Wow. Well, okay, so obviously money doesn't fix all problems, but obviously it allows athletes to train like elite high-level athletes and not hold full-time jobs or whatever else they need to do to raise funds. Does it have to come from the government? Are there other models out there? You would have the experience to know.
Yeah, look, there's really two ways of this kind of working. One is sponsorship dollars, and the other comes from funding. And there are limited sponsor dollars for amateur sport across the board in Canada. It's the reality. And people can say, "Oh, I'm seeing all these commercials," and all this branded content during the Olympics. Yes, you are. They pick 10 or 12 athletes that they've pegged as marketable, likely to be medal hopefuls, et cetera, who've already established themselves. And some of them are the ones that are getting some money to compete. The reality is that if this is something that matters to you, if this is something of national pride, if this is something that brings Canadians together, if this is something that is a priority, then the way that it's going to have to work is going to be through more funding, more Sport Canada money, more Own the Podium money, et cetera. And that ultimately comes, from government dollars. And it's not, Dave, that the government dollars haven't gone up. The government dollars have stayed the same, which everybody can tell you with inflation these days means the government money has actually decreased. And so here we are wanting to compete against the best in the world, and we're asking these athletes who lay it all on the line, who do everything that they do, to be out of pocket. And then if you have success, there's not much in it for you in comparison to other countries. If you win a medal, you get a little bit of a few greenbacks in your jeans, but it's nowhere near what would happen if you went to some other countries around the world. So it's time for a real conversation again, something that had kind of gone away around the Vancouver Olympics because we really didn't want to make fools of ourselves. But it's about to happen. It's about to happen at the next Winter Olympics. And it's something that needs to be addressed and now. And we'll see what the federal government's going to do about it.
Who would be the biggest spenders for the Olympics? Who would compensate their athletes, whether it be for medals or support in leading up to the Olympic Games?
It's a good question. I'm not sure. I think so much of it also has to do sport by sport. If you win a gold medal, I think it's in Poland, it's something like $200,000 comes your way. Singapore has never won a gold medal. I think they're offering $1 million for somebody there to do it. But the cost of doing business and travel, and you're asking athletes. There's no such thing as an amateur athlete anymore, because
True.
You have to eat, live, sleep, breathe it. When I was in town in November for the Vanier Cup, just having conversations with coaches and administrators of what university athletes now go through, I'm like, man, not to age myself, but when I was in college, the O-lineman kept weight on by eating poutine. We've come a long way, and when you end up sending U Sports kids to the NFL, there's a reason for it, but it comes at a price and it comes at a cost. And it requires a national vision and everybody pulling in the same direction for there to be success.
That's very cool about the Singapore team. Again, thinking back, the Jamaican bobsled team, they got to hang with John Candy. Kind of the same thing.
That's it. Chris Jones of CBC did a great piece on this. The Italians. So Courtney Sorrow today won a 5th medal. When she had 3, her cash haul was going to be $55,000, which sounds like a lot, except $55,000 over 4 years only takes you so far, and you get taxed on it. Yeah. But with 3 medals, if she were Italian, she'd be making almost 7 times that. If she were from Poland, it would have been over $200,000 with a furnished apartment and a car and artwork and jewelry. And Singapore apparently was going to be over $1 million.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. You mentioned baseball, and that's got my blood flowing because I don't miss any of the 162. The Toronto Blue Jays, all other teams are down, assembling themselves in Florida. Wow. What are you seeing from this Toronto Blue Jays team?
Well, I'm seeing now a Blue Jay team that, if there was any question about it before, it's gone away, that the face of this franchise, the heartbeat of this franchise is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And you think about when Vlad arrived in 2019, it was with Bo and it was with Cavan, the sons of the major leaguers, and what this was all to be. And all those guys from that whole era, Danny Jansen and Ryan Barucki and Jordan Romano and Bichette and Biggio, they're all gone. And Vlad remains the face of it, and that there is no doubt now. George Springer's got another year left on his contract. He's probably done after this one. So as this franchise kind of moves forward in this era, post-World Series era, competitive window era, all eyes will be on 27, and they're going to go as far as he takes them, but as if it wasn't already Vlad Mania, it's now completely Vlad Mania.
Two quick questions for you before we go. Number one is when you hear the conflicting stories of free agents. So guys that signed with the Toronto Blue Jays, we loved the nation, the idea of a whole country behind us. We saw what happened in the World Series. We're so happy to be here. For the guys that leave, well, you know what? That turf took a pounding on my body. Is that always going to be the Achilles heel of the Blue Jays and free agency, or have we gotten by that, the whole turf issue?
Yeah, that's in the rearview mirror. Look, I think free agency just remains the same as it always has been. Who's going to offer me the most money, and what's the best opportunity for me? Now, if it's relatively close to the same offer, does the clubhouse vibe, does the culture, does the idea of winning? A lot of guys love Toronto. All that's real, but the Blue Jays were coming nowhere near the offer that Bo Bichette got from the Mets. I don't think Bo wanted to come back, and I don't think the Blue Jays wanted him back, quite frankly. And the turf thing just becomes an easy thing to talk about. You know, I think in his heart of hearts, Chris Bassett would have loved to have come back to the Blue Jays. Was he offered a real contract? I mean, the Orioles just gave him, 1 year, $16, $18 million, something like that. That wasn't happening here, especially not after going to get Dylan Cease and Cody Ponce. So, yeah, the turf thing's not a turf thing.
All right, last thing before we go. The head of the MLB Players Union went ahead and resigned. You name what the labor situation is going to look like in the MLB, but it looks like we are headed down a real dangerous path for lovers of baseball. What do you see in that resignation?
Well, I see a players' association that quickly needs to scramble to find an heir apparent or replacement, whatever. I do not foresee a scenario in which the players will not be locked out at the end of this year, Dave. Like, you're a baseball guy, you love watching every night, blah, blah, blah. There will be a work stoppage in baseball at the end of this season. The question just remains, how long will it last? How messy will it get? It's not an if, it's a definite. The question will just be for how long. And so now, moving forward, it's going to be really interesting to see how this unfolds with a new head of the Players Union.
I can't wait to find out how this is going to unfold. I am not going to kid you. It's going to be must-see TV, if you will. Arash, I could do this for hours with you each and every time. I'm sorry we were out of time today. Appreciate you doing this. Stay warm, stay healthy, and if you need some workout material, come shovel some snow with us.
I appreciate it. You know what? Let Colson do it for you.
Done deal. There you go. It's for Brian Golly. That would be Coast to Coast with Arash Madani joining us on the Sports Cage. Yes, boy, I tell you. He looks so nice and comfortable there in Ontario. Just saying. The snow shoveling coming up in a moment. We need to take a break. It is the Sports Cage brought to you by RMP. The Winter Tire Cost event is on now until March 31st. When you purchase a set of 4 tires, visit RMP online or in person today. Your Sports Cage ticker coming up in a moment. This is the Sports Cage on 620 CKRM. All right, again, Arash Madani brought to you by Smart Investing Solutions. Be smart with your money. Call Brian Golly at Smart Investing Solutions, 546-2533 on the Prairie Land Rentals text line. My apologies to Roscoe. I forgot your question. We will get it next time, my friend. Thank you so much for listening. And again, sending in your thoughts and comments all day long. Quickly on the sports ticker for Steelcraft Doors. Men's Olympic hockey today. Canada defeated Czechia in overtime 4-3. They'll play Slovakia in a semifinal on Friday as the Slovaks beat the Germans 6-2. The other semifinal will have the U.S. who downed Sweden 2-1 in overtime, playing Finland. In curling, of course, big day today for Rachel Homan. A must-win against Italy. She got it in an extra end. Will take on Korea for a chance to clinch a playoff spot tomorrow. The Canadian men already in the playoffs. They'll play Norway tomorrow. And don't forget the gold medal game between the Canadian women and Americans goes tomorrow afternoon as they will play for gold once again. And that's your SportsCage ticker for Steelcraft Doors. Thank you to Colson for keeping us between the lines. Of course, coming up tomorrow, we'll have Brendan McGuire filling in for Barney Shankaruk. You can find out all of the interviews that we've had today by going online to sportscage.com. Enjoy your Wednesday evening. Don't shovel too hard, Saskatchewan. We'll talk again soon. This is the Sports Cage on 620 CKRM.